This is the Phillips 66 Big 12 Baseball Championship from beautiful Chickasaw Bricktown Ballpark in Oklahoma City. It is once again the site for the Phillips 66 tournament, one of the best collegiate baseball tournaments you will see anywhere in the country. And our first matchup is the 4 versus 5 game, and it is an important one between 5th-seeded Kansas and the 4th-seeded Mountaineers of West Virginia. This is the opening game of Pool A play. Also in this bracket is the Big 12 regular season champion, Texas Tech Red Raiders. They'll take on the Kansas State Wildcats. That's the other game that'll come up this morning. Hi, everybody. Alongside George Fraser, I'm Bill Dolman. Good morning. It's great to have you with us. And, George, this is one of the premier conference tournaments in the country, the #2 RPI league in the nation this season. And this matchup has great importance for Kansas, who's on a roll right now, and for West Virginia, who's looking to make a little history and host a regional.
And I think that's the key for West Virginia. They got the right guy on the mound. He's, pitched very well, 8-1, 10-0 in their starts. And then again, Richie Price. Zephyr John will pitch later in this tournament. It's got a youngster out on the mound that's 5-0. So these two teams, Kansas is hot, West Virginia's had a great year. Should be a fun game to watch.
4-5 matchups are always great. Let's take a look at the lineup for the Kansas Jayhawks, who are the visiting team as the lower seed. And it's a lineup that doesn't have a lot of offensive power. In fact, Kansas was last in the league in hitting, but they're hoping that Jack Wagner is only making his 15th start of the season, or beg your pardon, 3rd start, the 15th game of the season. He'll be the DH. Costantino, Gross, Hands, Vossick, Metcalf, Sims, Messinger, Burnham, and Schinkel. And the pitcher they'll face is a great midweek guy for West Virginia in Nick Snyder.
Yeah, think about this. A lot of Power 5 conference wins for him on the year. 8-1 overall record. He's pitched 55 innings, 86 strikeouts. A big number, and the opposition's only been able to hit 159 against.
Opening pitch of the 2019 edition of the Big 12 Championships in there for a strike to Jack Wagner. Just 14 games on the season, 2 previous starts, hitting at 316 on the year. He's the designated hitter, and that pitch is low and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. It's interesting, George, teams usually have to try to figure out how to use their pitching staff when it comes to this tournament setting. But for West Virginia, they have the luxury, and they have this great midweek guy in Nick Snyder starting off this tournament in midweek.
No, they do. And that's such a huge key for everybody. You think about this. If you got a guy go 8-1, draft eligible, left-hander, good midfoot, good high 80s, low 90s fastball, changeup, curveball type mix. I mean, that's what you want to have if you can be able to have the ability to do this. And Oklahoma's got a guy, Ben Abrams, very similar to that. And it's an interesting matchup. 2 lefties going head-to-head here. But with the conference last weekend with so much importance of guys trying to get in, so you pitch your #1 guy, so there's really no rest for anybody.
At the plate is James Costantino, who's been around this Kansas program forever. He's played in all 55 games this season. Yeah, that pitch low. One away in the top half of the first inning. 2 balls and no strikes. Costantino will be followed by Jack's Gross Hands. And that fouled off to the right, out of play. Costantino at 228 on the season with 4 home runs and 27 runs driven in. Kansas as a team hit just 250 on the season.
One thing they do is they pitch well, they catch well. Their defense has been outstanding. Costantino's going to take one.
So Costantino's hit by the pitch, and that'll put him on. For Costantino, that's the 22nd time this season that he's been hit by a pitch. There's been a lot of controversy about batters being hit by pitches this season. Getting out of the way. Was there an attempt? Is it a ball? Is it a strike? And so much pressure put on the umpires this season.
Well, they've handled it in the games I've watched, which is about 12-15. They've handled it well in the games that I've broadcast. So a lot of guys stand right on top of the plate. They dare you to come on that inner half of the plate. Well, Costantino has not had the year everybody thought he would have after that hit pass. You got to pay attention to the speed. 9 out of 10 in stolen bases. Last year hit for a much higher average.
Lefty to righty. And that pitch to Jax Grosshans is called a strike. Grosshans has been around this program a long time. He's the top hitter on this Kansas squad at .333. He has 12 home runs to lead the team and 42 runs driven in.
Big power. 12 home runs. He had 8 early in the season, and for their travel, it was horrible at the start of the year. They've had some of the worst travel of anybody in college baseball. They had to travel from Lawrence to some high school fields in Texas to play baseball. Couldn't find a dry spot.
First 24 games of the season for the Jayhawks were played away from Lawrence. 2 balls and a strike with 1 away in the top half of the first inning. Grosshans will be followed by Brett Vosick. And time is called. Kansas is coming in with some momentum. Much of the year mired in the lower half of the division of the conference standings, but here they are in the number 5 spot, and they're coming off a 3-game sweep at home against their arch rival in Kansas. There's a liner out to center field that's knocked down by Brandon White, and he's fortunate that he was able to get his body behind that ball, because if that gets past him, everybody's still running.
It's good to have a pretty good opportunity inside the park, and once you commit as a player to try to catch the ball in flight, you better make sure it doesn't get behind you, and that's exactly what he did. He did a very nice defensive job of keeping the ball. Good swing by Grosshans on the ball up the middle. Got a freeze as a runner. Ball comes in, and as he dove for the ball, he brought his chest up in order to maintain that. Well, White did a pretty good job with it.
Good start to this game for Kansas with 2 on and 1 away, and here's Brett Vosick. And Vosick takes a strike. Brett's at .261 on the year, hitting in the 4 spot, playing left field. Four home runs, 28 runs driven in, and a chance in the top half of this first inning with the runner in scoring position now to put Kansas on the board first. That ball gets away from Gonzalez, and that will advance Constantino from second to third.
Great read by Constantino at second base, because as soon as the ball hit the dirt, it barely bounced out of the left-handed batter's box. Rodriguez jumped out, or excuse me, Gonzalez jumped out very quick to get to the baseball, but that time it was Constantino got in scoring position, and it's a big move with 1 out, because now the fly ball scores a run. You put a tally on the board early in the ball game.
Called a wild pitch against Nick Snyder. So now runners at the corners for Vosick. Chokes up a bit and swings and misses. A ball and 2 strikes. Kansas is 31-24 on the year. They finished right at 500 in conference play at 12-12 and won 9 of their last 12 games. Slow roller past Snyder. It's gloved by the second baseman. The only play is to first, and that's going to bring Cosentino in from third base, and Kansas has taken a 1-0 lead. Grosshans goes to second.
It's not how you do it as long as you do it. Pretty nice play by Dones, the second baseman. Tyler comes in. Had thoughts when he charged the baseball, only because Cosentino hesitated at third base. When he saw he didn't have a shot, got the out early in the ball game.
So 1-0 Kansas, and here's Nolan Metcalf, .235 on the season, the Jayhawks first baseman. And that is into the glove of the shortstop Tucker, who comes up throwing across the diamond in time, and that'll retire the side. So a nice defensive play to close things out for West Virginia, but it's a terrific start to the tournament for the Kansas Jayhawks, who lead the Mountaineers 1-0 Kansas after 1/2 inning of play. To the bottom of the first we go. Dones will lead it off for West Virginia. Will be followed by White, Hill, and Inman. 1, 2, 3, 4. McIntosh, Gonzalez, Brophy, TJ Lake, and Tevin Tucker, the shortstop, who just made a terrific play to close out the top half of the first. He rounds out the lineup for Randy Mazie. Here's the pitcher for the Kansas Jayhawks, and it's Nathan Barry.
at Barry on the season. 5-0, 29 appearances. First game to start. First game of the Big 12 Conference. 34 2/3, 33 hits. He has struck out 27. And because of the pressure that you want to try to move, which Kansas did, sweeping Kansas State, you burned up your top 3 starters. You can't bring him back on a short rest, particularly Zephyrjon. You're not going to do it to him, a high draft pick prospect.
Barry on the year 5-0, and defensively behind him, Bosick, Schinkel, and Burnham left to right around the outfield. Messinger, Sims, Cosentino, Metcalf, third to first, with Jack Scrohans doing the catching for Barry. Leading it off for the Mountaineers, it'll be Tyler Dones, the second baseman. West Virginia comes into this tournament 34-18 on the year, 13-11 in Big 12 conference play. And ranked pretty much anywhere from about 17 to 24 in the myriad of collegiate baseball polls. Well, how about we settle right there in the middle, about 19th?
Well, they're a good baseball team. I think it's the best way to put it. They're in the top 25 for a reason. With Kansas, like I said, they catch it well. Up the middle, just 11 errors on the season between their shortstop and second baseman, Cosentino and Sims. On the flip side of that, between Dones and Tucker, 23 saves. That's a big difference because you catch the baseball.
One ball and one strike to Dones. Dones on the season hitting at .308. Played in 51 games, started them all prior to today. 5 home runs, 28 runs driven in.
Pitch count will be big. Only reason I said it's Barry, as I mentioned, 29 appearances. He's only pitched beyond 2 innings a couple of times.
To the gap in left center field, coming over the center fielder, Schinkel. He's not going to catch up to it. It rolls to the wall, and Dones trots into second easily with a stand-up double, and a great start to this game for the Mountaineers, who trail it 1-0.
That's what you want to do. You want to give punch as soon as you've been punched, and that's exactly what they did with a leadoff double into left center field. The ball appeared up, and it was out over the plate, able to extend his hands and trot into second base into scoring position.
So Dones is at second. That'll bring up Brandon White, the center fielder. These two guys give Randy Mazey a lot of speed options when they get on base. Dones has done his job. 17 stolen bases, 23 attempts. White is the team leader with 23. They have speed, and they will utilize it. White at 276, and Barry a long look in as he works out of the stretch. A flash of bunt, and that gets past Gross' hands. He had no idea that that ball had rolled away, and as far as it did, and that enabled Dones to get to third base easily.
Well, I think he was crossed up behind the plate. You know, with a runner on second, used multiple signs, expecting a certain pitch, and then tried to respond to it. And he looked for fastball. He got breaking ball in the dirt. It scored it away from him. Home plate umpire Doug Williams calling balls and strikes today.
And that's called a pass ball that enables Dones to get to third. So West Virginia is 90 feet away from tying this game. And that ball driven into right field, and West Virginia does capitalize on the double and the pass ball to tie it up at 1. An RBI single for Brandon White.
Very good job of hitting by White. Just take the ball to the opposite side. You end up getting Dones into the home plate area. Doesn't try to do a lot with this baseball. Short stride, inside out. Take it to the right side with a runner on first base. The infield was back. We're going to concede the run, obviously, early in this ball game. And it's a 1-1 game. It's all new. We're all back to square again.
So 1 on for Darius Hill. And Brandon White over there at first base. And again, 23 stolen bases on the season. West Virginia leads the conference and top 35 in the country stolen bases as a team. And a called strike. "13 conference wins this season for West Virginia, and that ties their best previous conference year. That was 2013, same mark, 13-11. That's also called a strike, and now it's 0-2. But this feels a little bit different, George, with this West Virginia team. Randy Macy's been around long enough. 13 and 11, 4, 5, 6 years ago. That was pretty impressive, but that program was still in its infancy. He's really established it as one of the best out there on the East Coast and one of the best in the Big 12.
Well, I think what you have to take into account with Randy is he has a brand new ballpark, a great place to recruit to. It's a beautiful place to come in and play baseball. It's a pretty setting. So now all of a sudden you start to recruit the East Coast, but you start to expand and get into California, into the Midwest, pick off a couple of players. Randy's done a good job with that.
They're hoping to do well enough here. The expectations are, and justifiably so, that this is a team that's going to be in an NCAA regional.
Well, there's no question about that. They're going to be in a region. What they want now is to host.
Exactly, and that would be for the first time ever.
They'll pack the house, too.
Yeah,
it'll be sold out. Every game will be sold out.
It's one of those deals where they tell the fire marshal, you can come, but just keep your eyes closed.
That's exactly right. Pack them up, stack them up, and let's watch some baseball. And I think it's great that the excitement around his program, the excitement around West Virginia, is where it is. Deservedly so.
Two balls and 2 strikes to Darius Hill. West Virginia's right fielder, and he strokes this into center field. That's a base hit. Brandon White has touched second. He's on his way to third. Here comes the throw, and it bounces in behind the runner. And there's an example of that West Virginia speed and how much of a game changer it can be. White goes first to third on a ball hit to shallow center field.
Well, what you like is he hesitated at second somewhat to kind of let the center fielder know, maybe relax, that he's not going to try to advance. Pretty good pitch, too. That ball was down and away from him by Barry, and he just takes it. When that little hesitation at second, when he took off, he took advantage of the arm and got into scoring position. Now, Ryan Graves is going to have a quick visit. Again, we're talking about a guy that's been on the mound for only 34 innings and 29 appearances, so it's more of a, not a situational left-hander, but a bridge guy that's going to pitch that 6th and 7th to get you the 8th to 9th. And he's made some pitches, worked ahead. West Virginia woke up with the bats early this morning.
The Mountaineers 7th in the conference in hitting on the year overall. That in 52 games hit .258, but what a start. 3 batters to the plate, 3 consecutive hits, the double by Dones, a single by White. Darius Hill has followed suit. West Virginia's on the board, and they continue to threaten in the bottom half of inning number 1.
17th season as the pitching coach. Ryan Graves, good college career. Now passing it on. Last year had 3rd-round draft pick Jackson Goddard. A lot of the Big 12 fans will remember Jackson. He is in low A with the Arizona Diamondbacks, pitching very well. Was pitcher of the month in the Diamondback organization. Ryan did a good job in development.
He's in his 17th season, as is the Jayhawks head coach, Rich Price. So they've been together for a while. Runners at the corners, 274. The hitter Marcus Inman is at the plate.
Richie's won 1,141 games combined between high school, which wasn't very long, JC, and then on the West Coast, and then here at Kansas. Over 714 wins at the Division I level.
A ball and a strike. The runner at third is White. Across the diamond at first, Darius Hill. And now Inman. Marcus 9 home runs to tie Paul McIntosh for the team lead. That misses low and in, 2-1.
Hey, ground ball.
This is the 4-5 matchup. West Virginia the 4 seed and Kansas the 5 seed, and the Jayhawks 9 wins in their last 12 games. The sweep of Kansas State. They just climbed the ladder in the conference standings. Their RPI has jumped into the top 60. And we talked to Rich Price earlier in the week, and he said, well, why wouldn't we now be in the NCAA tournament conversation? We're in the number 2 RPI league in the country. We're hot right now. And we're the 5 seed in the Big 12 tourney.
All right. And as every coach, you're going to sell your program, as he should.
Swing and a miss, and the count goes full.
Yeah, pretty good slider. on a 3-1 count. Guys that aren't overpowering, they won't set dead red. They'll be able to go to their secondary stuff and try to take advantage of it.
First time we've seen a full count pitch in this game. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Just tapped, and Gross hands couldn't hang on to it, and we'll do it again. A year ago, Kansas snuck into the Big 12 tournament. They were under 500 at 27-30. And just 8-15 in conference play. So there's been a marked improvement from last year to this. Here's Rich Price, 17 years at Kansas. So the philosophy for this team this year is it's all about the Sundays. And there's a ball for that pitch just missed, and now they're loaded for the Mountaineers, and that'll bring Paul McIntosh to the plate. Rich Price says on Sunday you've got a chance to sweep, you've got a chance to get a win, or the win a series, or you got a chance to salvage the series. And they take that philosophy not just into Sundays, although they've had great success in the final games of series. They try to play that way every day.
I think the big thing, the Friday night starter #1 guy is not necessarily as true as it used to be. You know, sometimes you try to look for that matchup in your rotation. It's going to benefit your team to have a dominant win at times.
Well, this is a precarious situation for the Jayhawks and a big opportunity for West Virginia. Nathan Berry has faced 4 batters. They have all reached, and now the bases are loaded. 1 run has come in, and here's Paul McIntosh, the designated hitter. He, like Edmund, 9 home runs in the season. He's driven in 28, a .282 hitter on the season. Berry really taking his time getting on page with Gross hands. And this ball driven to right center field. That's going to fall in for a base hit. It'll score 1. It's going to score 2, and it might score 3. That ball scoots past to the wall, and on his way to third is McIntosh, and he just does get in ahead of the tag. It's a bases clearing triple, and West Virginia has jumped out to a 4-1 lead. It's the first triple of the season for McIntosh.
And the hardest thing for Kansas, there's nobody up in their bullpen. It's early in the ball game. You're trying to buy a couple of innings here and making good pitches, but you're facing a pretty red-hot team swinging the bat this morning at 9 a.m. in Oklahoma City. They've thrown a 4 spot on the board with 4 hits and a walk, and yet to have an out recorded by the Kansas pitcher.
That ball was tailing away from Schinkel, the center fielder. Then when it hit the turf, it spun away from him, and that's what enabled it to get to the wall, and McIntosh lumbered his way into third. And it's 4-1 West Virginia.
Believe it in. Believe it in. What we do? No more locked doors.
The only way you get a triple on the gap thinking this is just going to be a double is you don't hustle. That wasn't the case at all with McIntosh. He saw the corner, turned it, and made a really nice cut on the bag at second base as he went into third with that head first slide just ahead of that throw.
The throw was just to the left of Messinger, the third baseman. If it's more on the bag, they probably get McIntosh. But you're right, that was a great job of running the bases by the Mountaineers' designated hitter.
Yeah, no wide turns. Take the shortest distance, A to B. He happened to get to C.
And everything was developing right in front of him, so he had a good look at it. There's a ball stroked into left field. That's going to bring in McIntosh, and everybody's reaching for the Mountaineers. That's an RBI single off the bat of Ivan Gonzalez, the catcher.
Yeah, finally down in the Kansas bullpen, it appears that they're starting to get people going. Ryan Ralston is warming up down in the bullpen for the Jayhawks.
Stepping to the plate now for the Mountaineers.
Still nobody down in the home half of the first. 5-1 in West Virginia. Now Kevin Brophy hitting in the 7 spot. 0-1. Brophy on the season. He's a junior, hitting just 191 in now his 50th game, making his 35th start.
Well, what they Brophy's again very similar to Tucker. They need him to catch the baseball. They need him to make plays in the outfield, and they do that. And so you make a little sacrifice offensively, but you look at the bottom of the lineup, 191, 254, 187 combined batting averages, but then you just kind of expanded 11 home runs, 68 RBIs. That's not bad production out of the bottom of your lineup, regardless of what their average is. They have very productive at bats as far as RBIs and moving the ball.
Yeah, 8 home runs this year for Brophy. He's been fooled by a couple of pitches, 2 check swings. He got the verdict in the first. The second's a called strike. He's behind 1-2. Still nobody down until now. So Brophy strikes out. First of the game, first out. And that'll bring up the number 8 hole hitter, and that's TJ Lake, the left fielder.
Stepping to the plate now.
Changed the direction with his pitch. Got way out in front of it. Took some velocity off and picked a good location to get the punch out. It was nicked. And hung on to by Grossens, the catcher.
So here's Lake. Lake at 254 in the season. He takes a strike. And now Barry is starting to settle in just a little bit and finding the zone. Runner at first base is Ivan Gonzalez. He had the RBI single. First 5 to the plate have all scored, and there's another Mountaineer base hit. And Gonzalez takes a look at third and heads there, and runners at the corners once again for West Virginia.
Oh, a tough day right now for Kansas. 5 hits, 5 runs. And 1 walk combined to get an out so far. I mean, it's just really good, strong swings.
Well, Kansas did score first. That's been a good thing of late. They've scored first in 4 of the last 5 games, and they're 4-1 in those contests. But nobody's punched back like West Virginia has, coming with 5 in the bottom half of the first on 6 hits so far. And here's Tevin Tucker. He's the shortstop, hitting in the 9 spot. 1 away. He shows bunt, takes high. Longest outing of the season for Nathan Barry is 2 2/3 innings. He's done that 3 different times. 3-0 in those games. He may not get to 2 2/3 in this one. Bunted back to the pitcher. The runner's coming home, and Grosshands has Gonzalez in the rundown. And the tag is made, and that's the second out. So Tucker reaches on the fielder's choice. Gonzalez is tagged out.
Well, try a safety squeeze, but on the bunt, it's got to go to the other direction. I mean, you got to get it up third or first base line to give yourself an opportunity. This bunted right back to the pitcher, Barry. The glove scoop perfectly to Grossens, and he executed this absolutely to perfection. Run the runner all the way back to the third base bag, make a quick toss, and get the out.
TJ Lake is at second base now. And Tyler Dones comes to the plate for the second time. 10 to the plate in the bottom of the first. Dones led off the game with a double to left. Advanced to third on a pass ball, and then scored on Brandon White's RBI single. 5 runs on 6 hits in the game for West Virginia, and they're not done. They have 2 out there with 2 outs. After this, game 2 of the tournament features conference champion Texas Tech and the Kansas State Wildcats.
Pete Hughes, former Oklahoma, leading the Wildcats this year.
Sky high, shallow center field. Schinkel waited, and it was worth the wait. He makes the catch. 10 to the plate for West Virginia in their half of the second inning. They score 5 runs on 6 hits. Did strand 2, but early on in the opener in Oklahoma City, West Virginia is in control. Well, if Randy Mazey wanted to make an early statement at the start of this conference tournament, his team has done exactly as the coach ordered. 5 runs on 6 hits in the bottom half of the first inning. And West Virginia has done very well in the opening frame this season, outscoring opponents 55-19. That includes the 5 runs that were just put on the board. 55-19 in the first inning of the season.
Well, it's impressive, and you never know as a coach how your team's going to wake up. This is a rarity. You don't play 9 o'clock games in college baseball. You play some 11s, but not 9s. Kansas was hitting early this morning. When I got into the stadium at 7 o'clock, they were in the cages hitting. West Virginia had hit earlier.
Benjamin Sims at the plate, lifts this in the air, left field. That's drifting toward the corner, and the catch is made by Lake, and there's 1 away in the Jayhawks half of the second. Now, West Virginia is also pretty good at closing out games, too. In addition to being pretty good in the first inning, they've scored 56 runs in the 8th inning of the games this season.
It's getting in after their guy that set up man before you get to the closer with the lead. And putting baseball games totally out of reach.
Here's Skylar Messinger. And Snyder misses outside. 1 ball and no strikes. So if you're Snyder, you've had to get up early. You've gone through your warm-up. You've taken to the mound. And then if anybody did not benefit, I guess, for those 5 runs and waiting around that long, it was Snyder. You're talking about a 9 o'clock start. I mean, yeah, you got a 5-run lead.
You got a 5-run lead, but it's the 9 a.m. start. Kind of reprogram yourself. It's not so much about last night. It's the 2 nights previous, how you slept, how you ate in preparation for this. And a lot of these teams finished up Sunday. They're traveling to get here on Monday, trying to get ready to go for Wednesday. So you have all the banquets, you have the coaches' meetings, you have practice on the field, but there wasn't anybody practicing in Oklahoma yesterday. It was covered in water throughout the whole state. And by the way, those of you listening in the state of Oklahoma, I hope you're safe. I hope you made it through the storms. First strikeout of the ball game.
Down goes Messinger, and there's 2 away in the Jayhawks half of the second.
And Snyder, who struck out 86 and 55 in the 3rd inning, gets his first strikeout. Very short arm action on the backside. A lot of movement on his fastball. 89 miles an hour with the last pitch.
Casey Burnham for his first plate appearance in the number 8 spot in the KU order. 244 on the season. 1 ball to him to begin things. How difficult is that to go through your routine, get the game going, and then right away you sit for about 45 minutes?
I think the only thing you compare it to is your off-season workouts where, on a weekend, Randy may have them come in at 7 in the morning to get your workout in because they all want to go watch college football or go to a game and get the things that you want done. But it's just so out of the norm. You normally get out of bed and eat a little breakfast. You're eating at 6. You're not eating at 9:30. So that makes it difficult. I think getting to the ballpark, you just kind of got to get yourself juiced up quick. And there's really no better way than throw a 5 spot on the board in the first inning.
Slow roller out to second, and it's an easy inning for Nick Snyder and the Mountaineers, who lead this game by a score of 5-1. The Jayhawks go in order, 3 up and 3 down, and they're half the second. Really no surprise. Kansas has had to go to its bullpen already, and on the mound to begin things here in the bottom half of the second, it's Ryan Ralston.
And not a guy that's been out there a lot, to be quite honest. He's got a very good earned run average, 2.08, 11 ball games. He started 2, but only pitched 13 innings. So it's been short starts for him. 8 hits given up. I think the one thing that probably jumps out at you is the walks. He's walked 10 guys. On the season overall in his statistics, and you see there 13 innings, 7 strikeouts, 10 walks with the earned run average. They don't hit him very well. They've only hit $186 against.
But if you're a coach in this tournament situation, what you don't want to do is start getting into your bullpen early on, and Kansas is having to do it very, very early.
Well, I think the travel roster is the same as it is during the regular season of 25 players in uniform. So if that's the case, you got 9 regulars, 4 extras, and you're carrying 12 pitchers, which 4 of those are starters. So you got 8 guys in your bullpen. And you got to be able to have that ability to maneuver through a game when you have to go to your bullpen this early. But I think they knew this.
No.
I mean, when you start a guy on the mound that has not pitched a lot of innings, never been beyond 2 2/3 innings the entire year, you kind of anticipate we may have to go to the bullpen early and make that switch. And that was the case with Barry, so they'll hand it over to Ralston.
What stands out in one of our conversations with the coaches earlier this week and talking with Jim Schlossnagle of TCU, whose bullpen has had all kinds of problems, he flat out said our starters have to get through 6.
Well, if they get through 6, you hand it to the bullpen, you're in pretty good shape.
Right.
You should be.
That's what he's saying.
And what you have is a left side bullpen, right side bullpen, meaning you're going to run some guys out that don't have a lot of innings, a lot of experience in Ralston, and just tell them, hey, I need 4 innings from you. You know, we're getting beat 5-1. I need to fill this thing up. You don't want to burn up 8, 9 pitchers today just to get 9 innings played in a ball game.
So here's Brandon White to lead things off for West Virginia in the home half of the second. The Mountaineers with a 4-run advantage, and Ralston's pitch is low. In that first inning, Brandon White took advantage with Tyler Dones on. He led off the game with a double. Brandon White picked up a single to right field. That drove in Dones, and that gave West Virginia the 1-0, or they tied the game at 1. That's right. Kansas scored in the top half of the first, and here's White getting a free pass to first on a walk. And next is Darius Hill. First 6 to the plate in the West Virginia half of the first, all reached. And that ball pops out of the glove of Gross hands. It was a terrific jump by Brandon White, and he's just stolen another base. That's his 24th of the season in 30 tries.
Been caught, yeah, exactly. Been out of 30 tries. That's the speed guy. They get on there, move him, and Mazey's not afraid to do it. And I think in the back of their mind, and we talked about this at break a little bit, if they can have a 7-inning run rule game, what do? You save 2 innings of pitching, wear and tear on your players, come out of here with some confidence and move on. Now, that's a big number that you got to be able to put up after 7 innings to try to pull that off. Need a guy throwing strikes right now. 6 straight balls from Ralston.
2 balls, no strikes to Darius Hill. Hunter Freeze has begun throwing in the Kansas pen. Hill at .311 on the year. He singled up the middle and scored in that Mountaineer half of the first. Pulled foul. West Virginia has traditionally done pretty well in the Big 12 Conference tournament since joining the league. 9 wins in 7 previous seasons. They did get shut out and went 0-2 in 2015, but for the most part, Randy Mazey has his team ready to go when it's time to come here. Fastball low. 3 balls and 1 strike. And they did a nice job a couple of years ago when there had been some severe weather that had gone through the Oklahoma City area down in Moore, the tornadoes, and West Virginia came down, and Coach Mazey had his team helping to clean up, and that really endeared his Mountaineer program to the people down here in Oklahoma. They've always had a fairly nice following when they come to town.
I don't know how many people do that anymore. Back-to-back walks.
So 2 on in the second.
Well, listen, Barry gave up 5 hits, 5 runs, but they had to swing the bat. You're not walking guys and giving away free passes. That's the one thing that will drive a coach crazy quickly. You start walking people.
First base number 25, Marcus Inman.
So 2 on for Marcus Inman. Brandon White's at second. Behind him, Darius Hill. Inman drew a walk in the first. He also scored 274 in the season. Stroked into left center field, and that's going to split the defenders and roll to the wall and score a couple of more. Coming in is White. Hill will follow in behind him, and walking into second base with a 2 RBI double is Marcus Inman. And West Virginia has opened up to a 7-1 lead on Kansas.
Kansas defensively has had their outfielders playing fairly shallow. They've had a couple of balls that I thought the routes could have been taken a little bit better. There's nobody to be mad at. If you're Ralston, be mad at yourself. You really want to walk a couple of guys to set up this damage done exactly by Inman, and it's his 39th RBI of the year. That's what he gets paid for. It's a left fielder who seems shallow to me and playing to the line, playing pull. He takes advantage into left center. And listen, this is a big ballpark. 415 in the gap in left center, 377 in right center, 400 to dead. You got a lot of ground to cover.
At the plate now, Paul McIntosh, who cleared the bases with a 3 RBI triple back in the first inning. And most of the big shots by West Virginia have all been in the gaps. They have found the openings in that Kansas defense. It's been uncanny so far. We're only in the bottom of the second, and it's 7-1 with a runner in scoring position. Ground ball left side. It's smothered by Sims. That long throw to first is not going to be in time. Played on the hop by Metcalf. Staying put is Inman at second base, and West Virginia has 2 on, and still nobody down in the home half of the second. Nice play out there at shortstop by Sims.
It was a nice backhand to get to his feet. Long throw from the grass area to even have a shot. And you mentioned it very first part of this ball game. Everybody, with the exception of McIntosh, who beat that ball out, could steal a base. McIntosh 1 out of 8 so far.
Here's Ivan Gonzalez. He singled in a run in the first. Gonzalez now 27 runs driven in on the season, and he's got a chance to pick up a couple of more. Good average at 290 on the season. A long wait for that pitch to be delivered, and it bounces to Gross hands. He doesn't have a play at third or second.
Well, trouble continues on for Kansas. Gonzalez at the plate, one of 2 players to play in all 52 games. Another shot at this. The ball didn't go far, but it's that lead you take for ball in the dirt. You got a ball in the dirt, react quick and get there. Tevin Tucker, the other player in the lineup that has played in all 52 ball games this year. Gonzalez played third a couple of games, but otherwise he's been behind the plate.
Off speed, in for a strike, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Take a look at that secondary lead you were talking about.
Well, it's that walk lead and then bounce up and be ready to go, and no play made.
And that's Marcus Inman, who's now at third. Behind him at second is McIntosh. 7-1, nobody down, bottom of the second. Tapped at the plate, and the count holds at 2-2 for Gonzalez. It's extra challenging for West Virginia. You consider it's not exactly easy travel to get from Morgantown to Oklahoma City. Now they've had to do it, so they're used to it.
I didn't know there was any easy place to travel from Morgantown, unless you're in Morgantown.
And then when you get here, oh, by the way, you got to play the 9 o'clock game.
I think when I talked, I think Oklahoma flew to Dallas, to Pittsburgh, and then bust to Morgantown. So same thing coming back. That's a tough toll on your athletes and on old coaches.
Well, and there were weather challenges too just a couple of days ago in this area, and also in the upper north area up by Morgantown. So getting here, they had challenges. The 2-2 again, high in the air, right center field. Burnham drifts over. The runner at third is tagging. The catch is made. And here comes Inman, and he'll score easily without a throw. It's a sacrifice fly and a second RBI of the game for Gonzalez. Now one away. McIntosh stays put. So he remains in scoring position for Brophy.
Good job. I mean, runner on third, less than 2 outs. You're looking to get a base hit, obviously score 2, but if you can't get the ball lifted deep enough into your outfield to get a run across. The Jayhawks put 5 in the first. They got 3 here in the second. A runner in scoring position and just 1 out. The Mountaineers have come in here firing, boy. Both barrels are loaded.
8-1. Same numbers in the hits column. 8 hits for West Virginia and a 1 for Kansas. There's a strike to Brophy, who struck out for the first out of that first inning. West Virginia set 10 to the plate to open up the tournament. Brophy will be followed by TJ Lake. 1 away with the runner at second. It's a grounder out to Cosentino at second, and they'll advance the runner, and there's 2 down. Here's the left fielder, TJ Lake. Ryan Ralston, second pitcher used by Kansas in this game already, and we're just 2 innings in. To the left-hander. Again out to Cosentino. Backhanded down on a knee, and the throw is made, and that'll keep that extra run off the board. So West Virginia strands 1. They've left 3 through 2, but in the process, in the early morning of this Big 12 Conference tournament, West Virginia has jumped out to an 8-1 lead on Kansas in the 4-5 game. Great start to the game for the Mountaineers and their fans. 8-1 is the advantage over Kansas as we go to just the top half of inning number 3. This is game 1 of the tournament. Alongside George Fraser, I'm Bill Dolman. Coming up a little bit later on in the Division I bracket, it'll be Texas Tech and Kansas State. Also qualifying for the tournament, Baylor's here, as is Oklahoma. Ball fouled back off the bat of Blake Schinkel. Taking a look at that second division bracket, Baylor and Oklahoma are slated to meet at 4 o'clock Central Time this afternoon. And then it's Oklahoma State, the number 3 seed, taking on 6-seeded TCU. Who's not here in the 9-team Big 12 Conference? Texas.
And they were one of the top 10 teams in the country the first 3 weeks of the season, and the injury bug attacked. And they lost so much talent to injuries. They just couldn't overcome it, be able to handle it to win some ball games. And it went to the last weekend. If they would have swept Oklahoma at home, it didn't happen. But if they would have had an outside chance if Kansas would have lost, or Kansas State. Didn't happen that way.
And the last weekend of the Big 12 Conference regular season had all kinds of drama from the top of the conference as to who was going to win the title and as to who was going to qualify. Ground ball out to the third baseman Brophy, and a good throw to Inman, and that retires Schinkel. Hitting in the 9 spot for KU. Now we go back to the top of the order. And that'll be Jack Wagner, who popped out to third to begin the game.
Stepping to the plate now for the Jayhawks.
Yeah, a big left-hander. I said it's a short, quick arm action, so 87, 88 seems like 90, 91. Fielded, footwork good, to throw good. Result, and out.
15th game of the season for Wagner. Facing Snyder for the second time. 2 balls and no strikes. Wagner's a freshman. He's out of Wichita. Off the plate, 3 balls and no strikes.
Well, there's a battle for Kansas kids. It's kind of a Kansas State, Wichita State, and Missouri State, Oklahoma State. You have 5 very powerful school programs right here in this area that you try to recruit these players, get them to come for the opportunity.
Well, Wagner made the most of his opportunity back on the 19th against Kansas State. Had his first career double, drove in 3 runs. A game like that gives him the opportunity to start here in the tournament. He reaches. That's a frustrating duel right there for West Virginia, with Nick Snyder cruising along so well, to give up that walk to Wagner. And now James Costantino hitting in the number 2 spot. The second baseman stands in. And now he misses low. 2 balls and no strikes. So Snyder, as we move into the 3rd inning, is having a hard time finding the strike zone.
And you worry about the long innings because he got hot, came in, had an inning where he gave up a run, went back out, 1, 2, 3 inning, did another long inning where there was 15, 20 minutes while their team hit to get everything collected back together.
There's a strike taken, 2-1 with 1 away and 1 on. That ball foul tipped out of the glove, and it is Costantino who is the worst for that. He is really bothered. That left hand really hurts right now.
Well, regardless of where you hit it, on the end or on the knuckles, it doesn't feel good. Get a powerful swing coming around, you feel like you may have pulled a ligament. Of course, the big thing's the hamate bone, but he's holding the thumb area. And then you start to worry about ligaments, all those kind of things in a hand.
It didn't look as though the ball hit his hand on the swing. It's just a matter of the effects of the swing on the hand, and he is really in a lot of pain. You mentioned that hamate bone in the hand. Shea Langoliers, the outstanding All-America catcher at Baylor, had a hamate bone injury that required surgery earlier this season, knocked him out of the Baylor lineup. He's come back and has had an All-America-like season like everybody expected, but that might be it for Costantino.
Ditzenberger will come on now and hit for Costantino and play second base.
The pitch came in, so he was jammed a bit. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And it is Dylan Ditzenberger who will assume the 2-2 count. This is not an easy situation for him to come in off the bench. And he takes a look at one pitch and now takes a hike back to the dugout. 1 and done. Strikeout, and there's 2 away.
Thanks a lot. Left on left. The guy's got 86 punch outs. I get 2 strikes. I know we work on situational things in the fall, but I don't think we work on this one.
Let's go, Hawk. Come on now.
Now batting catcher number 15, Jax Roshan.
Well, you certainly hope that Costantino is not significantly hurt. The Jayhawks desperately need his experience, leadership. Again, all 55 games, now 56 games this season for KU, the junior out of Leawood, Kansas. Here's Jax Grosshands. That pitch in the dirt, the throw down to second. That was a late jump by Jack Wagner. The ball gets away and into center field, but Wagner's not going anywhere but to second.
Well, if the pick could have happened by the second baseman, I think they got it. I really do. Dones doesn't pick this ball. It's in the dirt. He's out if the ball's picked. He's out by about 5 or 6 feet, in all honesty. But that ball skipped. As Domes tried to pick on the ball and apply the tag, it just shot under the glove into the outfield.
We saw that secondary lead a moment ago when West Virginia was at the plate with the runner going from second to third. And Wagner, again, not a lot of experience this season. And against a left-handed pitcher, his momentum was going back to first. So he didn't have a great secondary lead. But he is at second for Gross Hands. Anybody can turn it around for KU with a swing of the bat. This is the guy, the senior catcher, 333 in the season, 12 home runs, team high 42 runs driven in. It seems as though Gross Hands, Costantino, Vasic, they've been at KU as long as Rich Price has.
Yeah, it does.
17 years.
Yeah, they've been around a long time. Starters every year for the program. I think that's why a lot of people at the Big 12 tournament, the media, names are brought up. You realize, oh, okay. You know, I mean, Costantino, very good high school player, very good football player in high school. Uncle played at Missouri State football.
3-0 to Gross Hands. That pitch taken for a strike, now 3-1. Rich Price was really proud of his team's effort last weekend, not just because of the 3-0 sweep of Kansas State, but the way they went about it. The weather was bad. They were at the ballpark one day for about 9 hours trying to figure out if they were going to get a chance to play or not. Then they had graduation, 5 seniors. He said walk down the hill, and they got done with graduation ceremonies, walked down the hill and walked over to play the game. So it was a really neat moment for him, for those guys who have been a part of the program for as long as they have. Gross Hands draws a walk, so Kansas, who scored first in this game with a run in the top of the first, has 2 on with 2 away.
Now, Randy Mazik's going to make a trip out to the mound for a quick visit. And this is more of a settle down. You got an 8-1 lead. Going to back it up a little bit for you. We're going to sit here and concentrate on what we're doing. And sometimes those conversations are pleasant. Sometimes they're not.
Randy Mazie now in his 7th season as the head coach at West Virginia, was a long time and loyal assistant to Jim Schlossnagle at TCU. And for what he's done in building the West Virginia program and getting it in position to perhaps host a regional for the first time in school history. They got to do well here. But for the season his Mountaineers have had, he was rewarded with the honor of Big 12 Conference Coach of the Year. And deservedly so, not just really for what he's done this season, but that's an entire body of work with that West Virginia program.
Yeah, just building everything up. And he runs it all. I mean, he calls pitches in between every at bat. He calls the running game. He does all the hitting. He handles the defense. Great student of the game. Does the scouting reports. There's never a doubt of who's in charge during a ball game with West Virginia.
Here's Brett Vasic, another one of those Jayhawks who has been around forever. Omaha native. And a pitch low.
Omaha University, another school that's turned it around also. They're playing the Summit League. They're in Tulsa this week with Oral Roberts, West Virginia, and South Dakota as the Summit League starts underway this week.
1 ball and 1 strike. And now 2-1. You know, this is a precarious moment for Snyder and the Mountaineers. 8-1, cruising to an early lead, but now in the top of the 3rd. Kansas has 2 on and a chance. And a big hit here by Vasic, and that changes things pretty dramatically. And there's a big hit by Vasic, launched high in the air, pretty deep right field. But this big park is going to hold it. The catch is made just shy of the warning track, and that retires the side. Well, Vasic gave it a ride, but Kansas comes up empty, and the Jayhawks don't dent that 7-run. This is the Phillips 66 Big 12 Baseball Championships from Chickasaw Bricktown Ballpark in Oklahoma City with George Frazier. I'm Bill Dolman. The opening game of the tournament is the 4-5 matchup between West Virginia and Kansas. And so far, the 4 has dominated the 5. West Virginia has jumped out to an 8-1 lead. And we're just 2.5 innings into this 9 o'clock contest. Early morning hours in Oklahoma City. 3 more games to go today. New pitcher on the mound, third one of the day used by Rich Price, and this is Hunter Freeze, who began throwing just a little earlier.
Yeah, not a lot of ball games. So he's pitched in 11, not a lot of innings, 20 1/3. He's walked 10, struck out 11, given up 31 hits. Keep rolling the dice, throw it off the wall. Something's going to stick, and it'll allow them just give me 2 or 3 innings right now. Ralston had his difficult time. 3 runs on a couple of hits, on a couple of walks.
Sitting off the bottom of the 3rd inning for the Mountaineers.
Is there a rule of thumb as to how many innings somebody can go to where they're not available the next day when it comes to a reliever?
You know, high school, yeah, I don't think here at all. Run up the first base line, a lot of speed, nobody going to get there.
It's Tevin Tucker reaching to begin things in the bottom of the 3rd.
I tell you what, they'll do anything they can to beat you. He committed this early, but it's just the placement of the bunt. First base line, nobody there to be able to make that play.
Top the order, second baseman number 1, Tyler Dunn.
He talked it earlier when Ralston came in and Barry was struggling. You just want to get 4 innings if you can. Well, they've elected to go basically a new pitcher every inning at this point.
You almost have to. I mean, it gives Sefferjohn enough time to get ready for tomorrow's ball game, but losing the first game gives you a very long. Here's a ball popped away from Grossens again. And the runner will advance on a ball in the dirt. You're just trying to buy enough innings, man. You know, like we talked about early, you don't want to blow this thing up early to where you basically just don't have anything left for tomorrow.
So Tevin Tucker, who bunted his way aboard, is now in scoring position at second. Tyler Doan's at the plate. He began the game for West Virginia with a double, and he pushes this. Well, Freeze got a glove on it, but has no play at first. That'll be an infield single. Freeze did all he could to get a glove on it, and then finishing the play wasn't easy. So not with that speed.
Well, I guess you go back 40 years and say we're playing a little billy ball right now. Guys with a ton of speed. Obviously, Doan's 17 stolen bases. We'll just advance it up some more.
10 hits in the game now for West Virginia. And now Brandon White. Knocked down by Grosshands.
When small things happen and failure starts to happen on a field, you start to press. You back off the fastball. You're just trying to throw a strike. And I tell kids this all the time when you speak. Anxiety, body language, it all creates fear.
Another bunt. Push back to Freeze. His only play is to first. That'll bring the runner in from third. That's Tucker. And the three of the fastest guys in the Big 12 in Tucker, Doans, and White all utilize the bunt in their at bat, and it produces a run.
You haven't given up a hit that's gone more than 12 feet.
Now batting for the Mountaineers, right
And you've
fielder
given
number
up
31, Darius
2
Bill.
hits and a guy in scoring position.
So 1 away, now 1 aboard, and 1 run has come in. 9-1 West Virginia in the 3rd. At the plate, it's Darius Hill. Well, you know, not a lot of people want to play that 9 o'clock game, but when you're the only game in town and perhaps one of the very few games, if any other games being played in the country right now, in your center stage, West Virginia's putting on a pretty good show for people wanting to see what this baseball team's all about.
They are. And, you know, this ball pulled to the right side. It's going to advance the runner to third. Probably, you know, would you like a base hit? Sure you would. But you do a couple of things here. You move the runner to third. Now you got a wild pitch. You got different ways to score him: an error, fly ball, hit. So I mean, you know, it's pretty crazy. Most hits in a ball game this year was against OSU. West Virginia had 17 in an 11-1 win. That happened on April the 5th. That brought to you by Craig Moran, our wonderful statistician that got up early this morning and made waffles and bacon and eggs for his kids before he dropped them off at school. Actually, it was a granola bar and some fruit.
Breakfast of champions. Here's Marcus Inman, who scored twice, walked and doubled, and this ball in the air right field. And that's a relatively routine play for Burnham out there. And that's the quickest at-bat we've seen from West Virginia, but it's still productive. And they got Tevin Tucker to come in to make it 9-1 Mountaineers. We played 3. 9-1 is our score. West Virginia has the lead on Kansas. The Mountaineers have out-hit the Jayhawks 10-1 to this point. Neither team has committed an error. To the 4th we go. It'll be Nolan Metcalf, Benjamin Sims, and Skylar Messinger for the Jayhawks.
And you look at Snyder, the first inning, 16 pitches, 9 strikes, pretty good. You'd like to see that in that 73 to 78 range of strike to ball. Next inning, outstanding. 7 of 10 strikes. The last inning, he was 10 of 13, which is not particularly good. 7 of 13 first pitch strikes in the ball game. 2 3-ball counts. And interesting enough, for a strikeout guy, 1 0-2 count so far in the game.
The first pitch of this inning misses inside to Nolan Metcalf, who was robbed of a base hit back in the first inning. A terrific play by Tucker, the shortstop. That retired the Jayhawks in the first. Kansas did jump out to a 1-0 lead, but then gave up 5 runs in the bottom half of the first, and West Virginia has controlled ever since. The 2-0 fouled off to the right. That's out of play. 89 miles an hour on that last pitch.
Souvenir, run fast. Not a lot of competition for the baseball.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet.
That 2-2 pitch way high and away. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Texas Tech has shown up at the ballpark. Going to hang out down the left field line. They have an area of batting cages where they can go up on top down the right field line, and that's where the teams will go in and hit designated times.
That ball stroked to left field, and backpedaling is Lake, and it goes over his glove to the wall. Here's the throw to second, and that tag is not in time.
Lake floated back on the baseball, and you know, all you young outfielders, that's where you turn and try to run to the spot. He didn't think that ball was going to carry. Now, it appears there's some wind above the ballpark, which is helping us carry a little bit farther. Thinking that you have it out. See, backpedal, turn and run to your spot. Make the play. And you think you have that, but enough backspin on the ball by a strong hitter carried it beyond the reach of the glove, and the hustle gets him into second base.
So good start to the 4th for the Jayhawks, who have an 8-run hill to climb. Here's Benjamin Sims. Flew out to left field, grounds this up the middle, and that's past the diving Dones into center field, and that's going to bring in Metcalf, and Kansas is back on the board. An RBI single for Benjamin Sims.
Well, they didn't win these many games without fighting hard to get back into ball games. And this is something Kansas did a nice job of. This ball goes right back up the middle. After Metcalf's double, he comes in to score relatively easy with no play.
Now Skylar Messinger at 262. Lifts this in the air to right field. And that's a routine play. 1 away. Well, you could jump out to the big lead. It's early in the day. Randy Mazey's had one conversation with his pitcher. I'm guessing he may have an all-team meeting here in a bit to talk about focus.
Well, you know, maybe. But I think with Randy, he's so laid back.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like let the guys go play. Just let them go play. And not try to push the issue too much. I think if you bring a sense of anxiety to your team, a sense of frustration with your team, sometimes they revert and become very tight. Guys got 9-1 lead, 9-2 lead. Come on, let's go play baseball. Let's add some tallies.
When you do have that laid-back personality, as he does, when you do bring to have those moments of, shall we say, focus.
Yeah, he snapped.
It speaks a little more loudly. You might get a little more. If you're always on edge, you can't coach a baseball team.
It's kind of like the dad yelling at the kid to clean up his room every day. Pretty soon they stop listening, you know.
Yeah,
so
I know.
It's just kind of one of those things that I'm beyond all that. But hey, they've all grown up and left the house. I just yell at them for what they all left behind now.
Stroked into left, and Lake again drifts back. Backpedals. This time he's able to make the catch 2 away.
Let's remember something here. If Lake takes the proper route on the first ball, you got an out.
Right.
The run doesn't score. You have a much quicker inning. And what, some people don't realize at home, the coaches realize it. A miscue like that left costs you another 7-8 pitches on your pitcher. You work through their lineup where maybe you don't want to get to the top of their lineup in the 4th or 5th inning. Well, because of that, now you're going to flip the lineup around as the 9-hole hitter comes to the plate now. So those are the things you're trying to avoid as you work your way through a ball game.
And no team has fought that battle more this year in the Big 12 than TCU. The fielding problems that Jim Schlosstagel has endured, and they've had to go to extend starts for pitchers, but they've not got to the 6th inning, as he has said, or gone beyond the 6th inning and using their bullpen. It's just been really frustrating. At the plate for Kansas, this is Rudy Carey in a pinch hit role, hitting in spot for Blake Schinkel. And Rudy's been in this Kansas program a long time, and he's hobbling, fouling that pitch down, but you can just see on that right leg a huge brace wrapped around that knee. He got injured a couple of weeks ago, and Rich Price told us he wasn't sure if Carey would be able to play in Oklahoma City, but here's a guy that's probably earning the opportunity because of what he's meant to the program over the years.
Absolutely it is, and maybe he just liked the matchup at this part of the ball game. Left on right, there's a good shot of the brace that we're talking about here in the injury that occurred. Put this on now, fix it later.
Yeah, it's a torn ligament that he suffered against TCU last Sunday, or in their last series. (9-2) is the score. Carey, one of those KU seniors out of Arizona. He takes a strike. You go to the plate and you're worried about the knee, and then you foul a pitch off your foot.
And you got pads on your feet, you got pad on your shin, you got a brace on, you got a pad on your elbow. What's missing?
And that gets away. And that gives Carey a free pass with 2 away, and Sims moves into scoring position. And that'll be all for Rudy. So go to the plate, but we're not going to expect you with that bum leg to run the bases. So he draws the walk, keeps the inning alive, and turns it back to the top, and Jack Wagner, who walked his last time out. So a pinch runner into the game at first. And Wagner fouls, only 1. Blaine Ray, number 31, is the pinch runner at first base. Sims the runner at second. 1 run has come in for Kansas in this 4th. Snyder misses low and in. 1 ball and 1 strike with 2 down. a strike taken. And now they count a ball and 2 strikes. And the count evens 2-2. Again, Kansas 9th in the conference at .250 offensively on the season. Only 2 batters in the lineup hitting above .265. That's Grosshands and Sims, both of them above .300, but everybody else in the mid-2s and lower. The 2-2 pitch up the third base line. That's a fair ball. It's going to find the corner, and at least 1 run is going to score. Sims has scored from second, and they put the brakes on Ray. He got too far off the bag and is tagged out. So Sims is able to score. Ray took a big turn, a lot of momentum, and he couldn't scramble back to the bag, and the Mountaineers tag him out there. But it's another run for KU. 9. It's a productive half of the inning in the 4th for the Jayhawks. They got a couple runs. This is Jack Wagner ripping a shot up the third base line. They got 1. Looked like they might get 2. And Ray, the pinch runner, took a wide turn around third, and then the late stop sign gets put up. He tried to get back to the bag, and that enabled the Mountaineers to tag him out at third base for the final out of the inning. But KU did get 1 off that double to make it 9-3. New pitcher into the game for Kansas. It's Kahi Bisho, a right-hander. He's facing Paul McIntosh, who tripled in 3 runs back in the first inning. Had an infield single in the second.
Now I'm about to break out the line for you. No mom's going to be mad. All the kids get to play today.
Bounce right back to the pitcher. It's off his heel, and it ends up a dead stop between the mound and home plate. And that's another hit for McIntosh, who's 3 for 3. It's his second infield single.
Well, let's take one more quick look. Hard sinker off the backside of the glove. He's fine. Or I should say the backside of that heel. And then just can't find the baseball. I'll tell you what, this team can run. Can swing the bat.
14th multi-hit game of the season for McIntosh. He has 3 today, and that average is inching toward 300. Here's Ivan Gonzalez. He has 2 runs driven in, 1 in an RBI single, another a sacrifice fly. This is his 3rd plate appearance. And here comes Ryan Graves and the trainer, and Bisho may be now feeling the ill effects of taking that shot off the bat of McIntosh.
They've already lost Cosentino, their second baseman, to a hand injury. They're talking about the ball hitting him in the back of the heel. I thought it got a little bit of glove, but I guess it got right off that Achilles. Oh, right on the Achilles on the right leg. Couldn't get it out of the way. Oh, that's smarted. On that back right leg, your drive leg, obviously you start to compensate. Here's what scares pitching coaches is you start to compensate your delivery when you throw it. He's not going to be able to go. Yeah, they're going to have to go down to the bullpen to get a lefty out of this deal.
Daniel Hegarty had begun to throw for Kansas. Now, because this is an injury replacement, if it is Hegarty, he'll have an opportunity to get as many pitches in as he needs. That's one of those deals where you don't initially feel how bad it really is until a little while later. And Bisho had a couple of pitches and decided, no, this is just not going to work for me. So Kansas loses another player and brings in another pitcher. It's 9-3 West Virginia. 9 runs on 11 hits so far for West Virginia in this game, and they've had some big hits, but they've also utilized the small ball game with the speed that they have. Tevin Tucker reached on a bunt. Tyler Dones followed suit. Brandon White also had a bunt, a sacrifice, and an RBI. 3 of the fastest guys in any lineup anywhere in the country, all double digits in stolen bases. They worked the bat pretty well, and Randy Mazey's team added another run in that 3rd inning. They scored 5 in the first, 3 in the second, and another in the 3rd. And the Mountaineers lead it by a score of 9-3. Still early on in this game, and Kansas has had to go to the bullpen once again. And Daniel Hegarty is the new pitcher.
Well, the left-hander's going to get all he needs to get ready to pitch in this game. He's had 21 outings on the season, 708 earned run average. 21 strikeouts, 20 innings, and a 20 and a third. He's walked 10. Has not made a start this year.
It's the 5th pitcher used by Kansas. And at this point, based on what we're seeing, they're just going to be using one guy each inning until this thing's over with.
They'd like somebody to go through and just maybe getting 10 pitches in and let's play. But it looks like we're going to play some baseball.
Take a quick break and come back. Kahi Bisho. It was hit by a line drive off his heel. Threw another pitch, decided it hurt too much. And justifiably so. So his day comes to a quick end. And Hegarty faces Ivan Gonzalez. That's called a strike. 2 balls and 1 strike to the West Virginia catcher. He's been durable. He's caught just about every game so far this season. Played a couple of games at 3rd base, but he's been in the lineup every day for Randy Mazey. Took a swing at a high pitch, lifts it down the line, and it falls just out of the reach of a trio of Jayhawks, and the count moves to 2-2. Kansas scored first with a run in the top of the first. West Virginia responded with 5 in the bottom half of inning 1, 3 more in the second, another in the 3rd. KU started climbing back with 2 more in the 4th. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning now. And West Virginia has somebody on base, and that's Paul McIntosh. And now the 2-2 to center field. And there's one away.
Come on, Kevin.
Looks like Casey Burnham has moved from right to center field. Schenkel was pinch hit for in the last half inning. That skips to the plate. Nice job by Grosshands. Kevin Brophy stands in. He's 0 for 2, struck out and grounded out. Boy, they have him dramatically to go the other way. There goes McIntosh, and he dribbles one into right field. He's able to pull it behind the runner. It dribbles into right field. McIntosh goes from first to third on the play. They had him shaded way over to left center field, and he did an excellent job of the hit and run of hitting behind McIntosh.
Now trying to find the open hole. When they're holding you on, they create the bigger hole on the right side, and it was big. It hooks his fastball beyond any reach whatsoever on Metcalf, so he gets into the outfield. Now you got first and third and 1 out. And Randy Mazey's run game, his explosiveness of allowing his players to show what they can and cannot do is paying dividends again here in the 4th.
It's the bottom third of the Mountaineer order at the plate right now in the 4th.
I mentioned earlier, the bottom third of this lineup for the Mountaineers has produced nearly 70 RBIs. And 12 home runs. So it's a very productive bottom of the order. Their average doesn't show it. A couple of them under 200, one at about 250.
That could be two. They'll flip to second for one, on to first, and that is a double play. And for the first time today, the Mountaineers are kept off the scoreboard. That was TJ Lake hitting into the 4-6-3. And that brings the fourth inning to a close, with West Virginia leading Kansas 9-3. Nine, 12-0, the numbers for West Virginia. 3-4-1 for Kansas. And not sure who's leading in the big cornhole game going on out in the right center field right now. But you know, maybe your team's not playing. Maybe you want to take a little break from this game that right now has a 6-run advantage for the Mountaineers. But there's a lot to do when you come to the Chickasaw Bricktown Ballpark. You can still catch the game while you're out there playing cornhole.
Absolutely. There's a little kid area on the right-hand side. You can go swing the bat, throw the baseball, see how hard you can throw them.
Well, they've done a terrific job in getting this field playable. The heavy weather that came through did hit Oklahoma City. It was worse in other areas of the state of Oklahoma. But there's always a threat. And you always want to put your best foot forward and put on the best show you can. And you can see some of the watermarks on the field right now as to where they've had to do a little bit of extra work or lay something else down. But for the most part, this place is as beautiful as it always is every year when we come here.
The Dodgers have bought this affiliate. Their AAA team is here. Their AA team, there's a fastball outside corner at 90 for the strikeout. Their AA team is in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who won the Texas League last year. And Oklahoma City predominantly has won their division in the Pacific Coast League every year. So it's good baseball in the state of Oklahoma professionally.
So Ditzenberger strikes out to begin the fifth, and here's Jax Grosshands, who's 0 for 1. Or beg your pardon, 1 for 1 with the walk. He singled in the first and was left.
At least Ditzenberg got to see 3 that time.
Grosshands crushes this left center field, and that ball is going to bounce to the fence and over for a ground rule double.
Third time that he's been on base in this ball game. A single, a walk, and now this double into the deepest part of the ballpark. 415 feet away as it hopped on the warning track and up into the stands. It gives you an example of what kind of power. Good load to that backside. Good level swing, heads calm. And it's all plus with that swing from Grosshands, and it paid off in a good way for the Jayhawks with a double and 1 out.
It's his 13th double of the season. That's second on the Jayhawk squad. At the plate, Brett Vosick fouls that pitch back, 0-1. And with 2 hits today, Grosshands now has 18 multi-hit games on the year. That's the team lead. And no surprise. He's been a valuable member of the Jayhawk roster since arriving in Lawrence.
And should be a top 5 to 7 round draft pick this spring.
So much talk about the draft this time of year.
Well,
so much talk.
Yeah, June 2nd. It's a life-changing event for a lot of people. It's opportunities for others. Go out and play the game professionally. Think all those taxi rides Mom had to practice. All the different things that go into building a player into the future of this, the private lessons, all the practice time, the showcases, travels to national showcases. It's a big investment for a family. I always tell guys, you're going to go sit under a tent and eat bad hot dogs all summer. Actually, best hot dogs are in Chandler, Oklahoma at the ballpark.
Really?
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Yeah. Stopped in and watched a couple of high school games there this year.
And not disappointed with the concessions?
Not at all. No. Small country towns, they have great concessions.
2 balls and 2 strikes to the hitter Vosick, with Grosshands out at second base. And that catches the outside corner to the left-hand hitter, and Vosick goes down looking. Second strikeout of the inning for Snyder. And both Ditzenberger and Vosick looked at third strikes.
It's just nasty. I mean, it's framed up so well by Gonzalez behind the plate. It's just not a lot, and training's becoming such a huge issue for evaluation on catchers. You always look at ERAs. What's your team ERA when he's catching? What is it when somebody else is catching? But I think a lot of that is the framing of the pitch, pitch calling. You know, professionally, they're going to call their own pitches. Collegiately, Randy Mazey and Ryan Graves, they call their pitches, as a lot of colleges do. That's why it's a little bit of an adjustment for some college pitchers to get into pro ball, catchers, I should say, and to call their own ball game.
0-1 to Nolan Metcalf. And now 0-2 with that pitch fouled off. So what is the adjustment? How do you get a catching prospect to start to pilot the game a little bit more?
Knowledge of the hitters. That's scouting reports. Keep a book and tell me what you're seeing at the plate. You know, you're sitting right behind it. Are they cheating? Are they moving? Are they up and back? Breaking balls, fastball hitters. Can we get with change-ups? You keep that book, start forming your own scouting report. Because as soon as you get to high A, and a lot of times it's low A, there is so much video on the internet. You can go check guys at bats out. Teach yourself how to go get outs. I think it's important for organizations to spend time with their young catchers.
Two strikes to the hitter with 2 away. And that's a base hit into left. Grosshands goes to third. He's on his way home. Here's the throw to the plate, and it's just not in time. Grosshands is safe at home.
Well, I think Gonzalez anticipated him a slide. You watch what Jax does here. He does not slide at home plate. The throw's there, and I think the throw's in time to beat him. He just stepped over it. The tag came back. If he slides, he's out. And that's crazy because 90% of the time you tell you got to slide. He just avoided the tag by stepping over and touching the bag.
Stepping to the plate, shortstop.
Did he get the back leg before the front foot goes down?
Well, I know it. Randy's not going to contest it at all.
Yeah, it looks like the foot does hit the plate. Run would have counted, and it's a 9-4 West Virginia lead. So Kansas is able to capitalize on the ground rule double off the bat of Grosshands. Metcalf gets an RBI single. He's at first. There's 2 away.
2 out base hits are huge for a ball club to have success offensively.
So the Jayhawks going to change the complexion of this game as we reach the middle innings. This is the top of the 5th. It's a 5-run game now. They trail at 1 point, 9-1. Kansas State with 2 outs in this game, 2 for 5. Benjamin Sims at the plate, in an RBI single back in the 4th inning. One of the neatest things to look at, talking about scouting reports and putting together charts and doing it your own way. And I know everything is digitized now, and you can punch a couple of buttons and get any report you want in color. But to see it done by hand, and to see a scouting report and a spray chart that looks like about the size of an encyclopedia, back in the day when people remember encyclopedias, but to see it done by hand is really kind of an art form.
It is, and the color coordinations from the red, the blue, the greens, the yellows gives indication, line drive, ground ball, fly out, strike out. I mean, so many different things that go into it. And you're right. I mean, it's about 8 inches thick on every club. That's the way it used to be done by coaches that kept all of that. And here's the 2-out walk. He has thrown now 22 pitches in this inning. He started with 67 in the 4th, so pitch count starting to jump up a little bit. I know in college you kind of, that 90 to 110 range starts to make you a little bit nervous as a coach. He's at 91.
Now batting for Kansas, third baseman Skylar Messenger.
Starting to stir around just a bit in the West Virginia bullpen, which is off to the left field side. Kansas relievers are housed off in right field. Here's Skylar Messinger with 2 on and 2 out in the Jayhawks half of the 5th. And then misses in. Kansas has now used 5 pitchers in the game. They've lost their starting second baseman, James Cosentino, who injured his left hand on a swing at a pitch. They lost a reliever, Bisho, when he was hit in the heel. And here we are in the 5th inning. They trailed 9-1 at one point, and you start to think, you know, this team that has a reputation for being gritty and battling, it's going to be a very different second half of the ballgame.
Well, they've used 14 guys so far in the game. We're in the 5th inning. A couple of injuries, couple of failure to perform.
This towards center field, coming over and diving. Did he make the catch? That is White, and they're going to say he made the grab.
I think Richie's probably going to ask for this to be reviewed real quick. He's walking out, he has, and Richie's asked for this play to be reviewed. Did he get it or did he not? That's going to be the question.
Take a look at Brandon White diving. That's a pretty good effort, and looks like it might be a pretty good catch by Brandon White, but the umpires are going to take a look at it. Well, this game has changed pretty dramatically. 9-7 is our scores. We go to the bottom half of the 5th inning. West Virginia built an 8-run lead that's been cut down to 2, and Kansas actually had the go-ahead run at the plate in the top half of the 5th when it came to an end. But it was a productive inning, 4 runs on 4 hits. 7 runs on 8 hits now in the game for the Jayhawks, 9-12 for West Virginia, who will start this inning with Tevin Tucker, the 9-hole hitter, then back to the top of the order, Tyler Dones and Brandon White. And again, Tucker shows bunt. He reached in a bunt to lead off the 3rd. He eventually scored. It's a dangerous trio to face. 9-1-2 for West Virginia because of the speed. Bunted straight down, and a foul. "59 stolen bases combined amongst the 3.
Part of the deal is you look as a hitter, if you're a good bunter, watch where your pitcher falls off. 3rd baseline, a bunt up 1st baseline. He's got a reverse direction to go get to the baseball. So your bunt angle's straight at your 2nd baseman. Now, defensively, Kansas has really shortened up Wagner at 2nd. He has brought the 1st baseman in. Now with 2 strikes, they'll back it up. But defensively, they were trying to tell their 1st baseman, you go get the baseball. Metcalf, get the ball. 2nd base, Wagner, go to the bag.
Off the plate, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Yeah, there are a lot of defensive changes for Kansas. Wagner, who began the game as the DH, is now at 2nd base. Cosentino was hurt earlier. He exited back in the 3rd inning. And Ditzenberger is now in right field. And the count holds at 2-2 with that foul pitch. Coming up later, game number 2. Big 12 regular season champion Texas Tech and Kansas State. And that floats in for called strike 3. And Tucker quietly goes back to the dugout.
That's huge. And the reason I say that, maybe he's come into the ball game, worked through that inning, and didn't give up 1 run. But it was more of it was not a run, excuse me, back in the 4th. Was able to work through it. Your team just put 4 on the board. Don't walk somebody. Go out and do your job. He did it.
And do what you can to keep one of these 3 guys off the bases. Tucker set down. Now Tyler Dones, the 2nd baseman, coming in 17 stolen bases on the year. Dones a .308 hitter. That averages up to .313 now, with the base hit earlier today and a double back in the 1st. So he's 2 for 3. Every starter for West Virginia has a base hit. Missing in 2-1. Oklahoma Baylor and Oklahoma State TCU.
Good Good matchup
later
in the
tonight.
afternoon. Yeah, it should be good baseball all day long here at the ballpark. So if you're at home watching this morning, when you get off work, you pick the kids up from school, head out to the ballpark.
That's a good idea, George.
Come out and have a hot dog. A little piece of pizza.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 away. So much importance on the line.
Kansas wins this first game. It sets up well for them.
Checked his swing, and Grosshands chases him down, then flips to first. Back-to-back strikeouts to begin the 5th for Kansas.
Another look at the strikeout. Off-speed stuff. Got him to check the swing. Grosson's able to pick it. Couldn't run him down. And it's just a quick flip to first base for the out.
Haggerty's done a good job and has looked in command. Swinging at the first pitch is Brandon White. He lifts a fly ball, and the Mountaineers are retired. 3 up and 3 down, and Haggerty is pumped up as he exits the mound. Kansas has outscored West Virginia 6-0 over the last 2 innings. We got a 2-run game. And welcome back to the 2019 Phillips 66 Big 12 Baseball Championships, Chickasaw Bricktown Ballpark in Oklahoma City. 9-7 is our score. The first 3 innings owned by the Mountaineers. And Kansas has laid claim to innings 4 and 5, scored 6 unanswered to make it a 2-run ball game. We're talking about run rules early on. And now the question is, can West Virginia hold off KU?
Well, KU feels like they're winning right now. You know, their dugout, their enthusiasm, athleticism, make you play, make you pitches, because they have bounced back into this ball game.
I was mentioning earlier that there's so much importance for everybody at the Big 12 championships this year. Every game really means something. The ground ball to third, the tag is made, and there's 1 away.
Well, here's the way I kind of look at it. You know, along those lines of what you're talking about. We go back to the 5th inning with Kansas and damage done. This base hit to left with the bases loaded. Brought in a couple. Grossens comes in and scores. Did the ball get caught in center field? I didn't think they did. Bill thought they did. Umpires agreed with me. Bill loses $5. I'm just kidding. But it was a great effort, great play out in center field. And they're able to score. But again, it's pretty good to position where they are. 9-7 deficit right now. But as I said, it started inning. They feel like they're winning. Only for the feeling, you know, when you're down 9-1, it's the 3rd inning. It's not fun to try to bounce back. Credit Rich Price, coaching staff, players in the dugout to keep those guys in the lineup. And it kind of like every little thing that Price has tried worked. Litke with the big base hit. You know, that kind of stuff that gets you back in a game.
And the job that he's gotten from Haggerty off the mound, he's been using 1 pitcher every inning. Haggerty came in when Bisho got hit by a line drive off the ankle. He couldn't continue. Haggerty came in, finished up that inning, and then just set down the Mountaineers in order in the 5th. At the plate now is Jack Grosshands. He had a ground rule double in that 4-run 5th inning and eventually scored. He's been on all 3 times today, singled in the 1st, walked in the 3rd, and then the double in the 5th. He thought he was going to reach there, but that pitch is called a strike, and the count's full 3-2. The importance for this in this particular game for these 2 teams, West Virginia has its sights set on hosting a regional in Morgantown. And that's a slow roller up the 3rd base line that just does take a left turn and is foul. And West Virginia feels like a loss in this opening game and having to battle back that, yeah, they're going to be in the tournament, and justifiably so. But the opportunity to host for the first time ever is just so enticing for this team that it really means a lot, especially this particular game. You don't want to lose the opener and have to work uphill the rest of the way. And for Kansas, I think a lot of people, when they woke up on Monday morning and saw the final Big 12 standings, that Kansas had 31 wins and was 5th in the number 2 RPI conference in the country. And Rich Price told us, why are we not in the NCAA tournament conversation? We're 5th in this conference.
Yeah, but I mean, I get it. I understand why he's not, or is. High fly ball. Camped under it. He'll make the play. But, you know, here's the deal. Why aren't we in? Where were your losses? Who were your losses against? Who were your wins against? And, you know, they look at everything on that. I think for Price, they do need to win 1 game here, maybe 2. And that'll help their case to get in. I think Oklahoma State, the sentimental value of Ali P. Reynolds, I mean, Oklahoma State's in. But how many different Big 12 teams are going to host a regional? That's a question. You know, if they don't host a regional, maybe they get a super regional if they win their regional. You just don't know. But Big 12 baseball this year is very good.
Yeah, especially when you see a team like Texas not being here.
Well, Texas, I mean, it's just like the bus roll. You know, the bus rolled up to the hospital, everybody got off. They didn't have any players left. They just didn't have any players left to go play games. I mean, it was a bad situation for them.
Brett Bostic's at the plate. 2 balls, a strike, and 2 away. He takes 1 high. Bostic on the year now at 257. His average has dropped 4 points. Reaches with a 2-out walk. He did get an RBI back in the first inning when Kansas took a 1-0 lead. It was a ground ball to second base that drove in the run. So Bostic's aboard with 2 down, and that'll bring Nolan Metcalf to the plate. And a meeting on the mound is about to convene, and that's going to be all.
Pins coming in.
Zach Reed is going to be the new pitcher for West Virginia. And he'll enter with the runner on and 2 away in the top half of the 6th inning. Oklahoma City, where West Virginia leads 9-7. Zach Reed is the new pitcher for West Virginia. 3rd one used by Randy Mazey today. He steps to the hill with his team leading by 2 runs, 2 outs, but a man on base.
14 in the 3rd, 15 hits given up, and only 3 extra base hits. No home runs. It's been doubles the whole time. He's worked out of the bullpen to a 188 earned run average. He does have a save on the year. A record of 2-0. He'll be turned over to kind of solidify some things here and try to climb it, get this thing into the 7th or 8th inning. They hand the ball to Sam Kessler and let him try to save it.
He'll be facing Nolan Metcalf, who's 2 for 3 today. And had it not been for a great play by Tucker, the shortstop, in the first inning, Metcalf would be 3 for 3. He got robbed when Tucker made a diving stop and a hot shot to short. He doubled and scored in the 4th and singled in a run and scored in the 5th. So Reed is finishing up his tosses from the hill, and he'll face Metcalf in just a moment. Game 2, Texas Tech and Kansas State. Red Raiders, the Big 12 regular season champs. Importance for them is they'd like to host a regional and a super regional, be a national seed. Just continue to pack people into Lubbock to watch college baseball. They've been doing that for, 5 years now. They've sold out every season ticket. Kansas State, the return of Pete Hughes, the former Oklahoma coach. That ball is launched foul off to the left.
That came down in the parking garage. Lukenbaker's the last one I saw hit it into the parking garage, but it was in fair territory.
Yeah.
Mom, I broke a window. Where? In the parking garage. Oh, really? How far?
Yeah.
Well, you won't believe it.
Do we have to pay for that?
Yeah.
They got some electronic signage out there on the parking garages. That's new. Nothing's showing up on it.
Yeah. They've got it. It's just not working. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they didn't plug it in, flip the switch. 2 strikes to the hitter, and he goes the other way to right field. That's going to fall for a base hit. And it'll move Vosick from first over to third, and the Jayhawks have 2 on, trailing it by 2 with 2 away in the 6th.
Yeah, what's the theme here for the Jayhawks? 2 out base hits. They have come up all day long with them. Well, further, you roll yourself kind of into that 4, 5, 6 in your lineup. That's the important side of it. The lefty gives the feed. You saw the swing. That's like a golf swing, but into right field for a base hit. It's kind of like West Virginia, the first 3 innings, swinging the bat, and they could not miss the baseball. Now it's Kansas' turn to not miss the baseball.
So the tying run is on. And here's Benjamin Sims, who has singled in a run and walked. He has scored twice. And, you go back, George, to that video replay, the line drive hit by Skylar Messinger.
Oh, the one I thought he was safe and you thought he was out? That one?
No, there might have been a different one.
Oh, okay.
But because the out was called, 2 runs couldn't score. Only 1 scored on the play. Had that play continued on with the positioning of the runners,
yeah,
we might have a 1-run game right now. So that was a pivotal moment in this game, and it could have been even more productive for KU. That misses, and now it's 3-0.
Yeah, tried to throw a hard slider down and away to him and did not bite at all.
Reed misses way outside, and now the bases are loaded.
Drop down side on. Try to drop it, change his arm angle, maybe to find the strike zone a little better. Misses, and that loads the bases. Let's see what happens out there. They've got a right-hander going in the bullpen. He got up just a little bit ago. I'm not sure he's ready to go to be able to come in this ballgame.
And it's Messinger who comes to the plate at 263 at the start of this day. Couple home runs, 30 runs driven in now. The bases are full of Jayhawks.
8 walks by West Virginia pitching staff. Very unusual for them.
Messinger forces him to throw a strike, and Reed does. 0-1. There's activity in the West Virginia bullpen with Dylan Meadows, but right now it's Reed and Messinger. The duel in the top of the 6th. The tying run stands at second base. Breaking pitch fouled off to the right. After Messinger to be Casey Burnham. And right now the KU order lists the pitcher who would hit in the number 9 spot. Messinger to center field straight away. Going back is White, drifting back, slowing down, making the catch. And the Jayhawks have left the bases loaded in the top half of the 6th. KU continues its momentum. They threaten, but unfortunately for KU fans, their team is unable to put some runs on the board. They still...
Big 12 tournament's always a unique time at the end of the year. We're playing for a championship. We're trying to set ourselves up for postseason position. We're trying to play well just going into the tournament, and hopefully it goes well.
Well, no question about it. West Virginia, despite being the number 4 seed, is among the favorites to win it all this weekend in Oklahoma City. And they got off to a terrific start in this game, leading at 9-1, but they found themselves in a battle. Things have tightened up pretty dramatically against Kansas in this 4-5 matchup. 9-7 is our score. Take a look at the potentials for these Big 12 teams at the top of the standings at the end of the regular season. When you take a look at the bracketology and, the people who are a lot smarter than George and certainly me. But right now the projection is that the number 2 RPI team or conference in the country would send 4 to the NCAA regionals. Tech, Oklahoma State, Baylor, and West Virginia. 2 would host, and Oklahoma right now is listed as the first team out. Mr. Frazier, do you agree?
No, I don't. I really think that, Oklahoma's got to be somebody that gets the opportunity. He's got to win one here, I think, 1 or 2. But I think that, they won 33 ball games. They lost their 3-4 hitter, lost their entire starting rotation, half their bullpen, and they still won 33 ball games. Tribute to Skip Johnson and what he's done.
Here's Darius Hill. We just heard from him, and now we see him let the fly ball to right center field, and it drops between the 2 Jayhawk defenders and bounces over the fence, and it's a ground rule double.
The thing you got to know as an outfielder, you got to talk. If you hear him coming, you don't. And it looked like there was some hesitation in center field by Burnham as he went after the baseball, as if to maybe heard footsteps. Maybe it's, what am I feeling here? Is I'm going after this pitch. I mean, he'll hit it well. There's no question. He's got a lot of power, but he kind of pulled the glove back away there, and the chase didn't continue after the baseball. Drops, ends up in the stands. When you bring in Ryan Sear, you brought in a starter who has pumped out 14 starts this year, nearly 90 innings, coming out of your bullpen.
Here's Marcus Inman. And he goes to straightaway center field. Now that's drifting toward right, and making the catch is Burnham. Stops on the track. The runner tags and goes to third. That'll move Hill 90 feet away.
So check the flags out. It's right center field right now. So that ball gets up. It's going to float, and it's going to continue to float, and that's exactly what they're finding out. I mean, you've got to go after this baseball, and you got to continue to chase it down. You can't back off the baseball as you go into the outfield. Casey Burnham finding that out the hard way.
Well, and remember, Burnham began the day in right field. Schinkel was in center field. Ditzenberger was on the bench, but he came in when Costantino got hurt. So you've got some defensive changes and guys in the outfield that weren't there at the beginning of the day. And this is a unique facility. It's because of the winds and the configuration of the outfield. You've got to have some experience out there, or certainly as a regular outfielder. And right now Kansas is kind of playing with a makeshift group out there.
Well, wind typically blows out of the south here, so your south wind is going to create a lot of flight on a baseball. That's kind of what we're dealing with right now.
But we've seen over the years those flags, and we'll certainly chronicle this over the course of this week because it'll be a factor at some point. You can have flags that are standing next to each other on flagpoles, and they're blowing in completely opposite directions, and you might have another one somewhere that's blowing upward.
It's Oklahoma in May. That's all I can tell you.
Blake Goldsberry has begun throwing for Kansas. So with Darius Hill at third, infield has been brought in. Here's McIntosh turning on the first pitch. This is launched to left center field. Burnham makes the catch. Hill tags at third. And West Virginia is able to pad its lead, 10-7.
Just small ball. Double. Fly ball moves him over. Fly ball scores him.
It's the fourth RBI of the game for Paul McIntosh.
Now for West Virginia, catcher Ivan Gonzalez.
And now there's 2 away for Ivan Gonzalez. West Virginia plays every year at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. And this is a terrific minor league facility, one of the best in the country. But they have experience in playing in non-collegiate parks. And they said coming into Oklahoma City, having played those games on the Pirates' home field does help them a bit to adjust to the environment they face here in Oklahoma City.
2 decks, suites,
yeah.
Ball flight, grass versus turf. Well, the tournament went to Tulsa for 1 year, and it resulted in good crowds, good time. Everything was okay with it, and the Big 12 chose to come back. But I think there was some scheduling conflict that year. That's the reason they went to Tulsa. And they turned around and came back here.
Ripped up the middle. That's a base hit. 14th of the game for West Virginia. And they're starting to generate some offense here in the bottom of the 6th inning that we did not see in innings 4 and 5. Mountaineers went in order in the 5th.
Stepping to the plate now, number 13, Kevin Brophy.
Next up, Kevin Brophy. He's 1 for 3. Single to right field back in the 4th inning. And a strike is called. West Virginia always has challenges when it comes to schedules at the beginning of the seasons. Now, Rich Price is not going to shed any tears for them. There's a ball stroked out to second. They played 24 consecutive games to begin the season.
Yeah, there's no towels over there for them. Trust me.
So we'll talk about some of the things that West Virginia had to endure when we come back. Right now, the Mountaineers enjoy a 3-run edge. West Virginia leads Kansas by a score of 10-7, 2/3 of the way through this opening game of the 2019 Phillips 66 Big 12 Conference Baseball Championships. 10-7 is our score. 10 runs, 14 hits. Kansas 7 runs on 9 hits. Neither team has committed an error in this game to this point. First 3 innings owned by the Mountaineers. They jumped out to a 9-1 lead. Kansas through innings 4, 5, and 6 outscored the Mountaineers 6-1. 10-7 is our score. We go to the 7th. Casey Burnham will lead it off. Kansas left the bases loaded in their half of the 6th, still trying to keep that offense going. Burnham shows bunt.
Now you're trying to work count. So not that you're necessarily trying to bunt the baseball, you're just trying to work a count. And meaning, let's get it 2-0, 1-0. Let's get back into the bullpen again. Let's try to get there before we get to Kessler. Behind in the count, 2 balls and no strikes.
Reed misses in. Talking about the scheduling for West Virginia, 18 of their first 24 games this season played away from Morgantown. Pitch inside, now 3-0. They were 14-10. It's nothing. They're used to it by now. They get it. You're going to come play ball here. You're not going to play ball at home usually until March. But for the first time ever, they actually played home games in February in Morgantown, and they were late additions to the schedule. That pitch is taken for strike 3-1. Randy Mazey's looking for a couple of games, and he called 2 teams in the neighborhood, Canisius and Towson, and they were willing to, at last minute's notice,
sure, let's
go
play
to Morgantown and play.
Yeah, come on down. Okay.
There's a base hit up the middle, and a good start to the 7th for Kansas, with Burnham reaching with his first hit. West Virginia had a trip scheduled to take on Georgia State, Georgia Tech, and Kennesaw State. 3 quality opponents at the start of the season. They ended up having to play Kennesaw State on a Friday, and then the 2 other teams, Georgia State and Georgia Tech, 2 games in one day in 2 different stadiums.
How about that?
One at noon and one at 6.
Did they go by the drive-thru at McDonald's or something on their way to the second game, get the guys fed? What'd they do?
Pinch hitter into the game for Kansas. This is number 29, Brooks Asher. Asher on the season hitting just 200, playing in his 20th game of the year. He's made 10 starts, driven in 3 runs. 1 ball and 1 strike to him. And that is ripped to left field. That's a base hit. That's going to move Burnham from first to third and maybe more. The stop sign comes up. They hold him at third. It's a double for Brooks Asher, and Kansas will bring the tying run to the plate at the top of the 7th with nobody down.
How about the buttons Price has pulled in his game? Lichty, a base hit, 2 RBIs. Now he goes to the bench and gets Asher with the left on right make, and that'll bring out for a base hit. And now Randy Mazey's like, okay, didn't want to do it, but I guess I'm going to have to. Heading back down again. Bring me in the right-hander, he said.
So Randy Mazie has made his move, and Reed's day has come to an end. And it is Dylan Meadows, who was throwing earlier, got back up to work, and then he'll come back in and take over the hill for West Virginia. 10-7, West Virginia has the lead, but Kansas is off to a great start in the 7th. The new pitcher for West Virginia, as mentioned earlier, Dylan Meadows. He was throwing earlier. Now he's got some work to do, and he inherits a situation in which Kansas has 2 runners on in scoring position. Burnham at third. Asher is at second after the double, and now the top of the order in Wagner.
A little bit of a crossfire delivery, meaning he steps towards the third base dugout as he comes to the plate. His velocity is fairly good. The problem with him, he gives up some hits. The long balls, he's given up 5 home runs in 19 innings this year, along with 6 doubles. The opposition 239. He has struck out 24, though.
West Virginia does have an outstanding reliever in Sam Kessler. 2.64 the ERA, 4-2, 21 appearances with 8 saves, but too early to go to him. So there's really a lot on Dylan Meadows right now to shut things down.
If it's Sunday afternoon in this situation, Kessler, you're in the game. You got to win. If you haven't pitched a lot up to this point. To win a championship, yeah, you might run him out there in the 7th inning to try to clean it up.
Jack Wagner has reached twice, walked in the 3rd, doubled in a run in the 4th. 2 for 3 on the day. Again, just his 15th game of the season and 3rd start. Meadows misses away, 2 balls and no strikes.
Missed with the fastball, missed with the breaking ball. So Randy Mazie gives all the signs to his catcher. You see him do touches to the nose, and you see him throw up fingers. Right now, he's just wanting to throw one up that get a strike on. That's a fastball at 88 miles an hour away that he gets a check swing strike on.
Two balls and 1 strike. Sky high pop up. It's shallow. The right fielder comes in. That's Hill. He makes the catch, and that is not deep enough to advance a runner. One away. And next up, it's Dylan Ditzenberger, who entered the game when James Cosentino got hurt swinging at a pitch. Ditzenberger now is in right field. Still holding down that 2 spot in the order. Comes to the plate with 2 on and 1 down. Floater out to center field. The catch is made by White. The runner at 3rd tags. Here comes the throw. It skips off the mound. And it's a sacrifice fly for Ditzenberger. And Kansas has cut the lead to 2 again.
I just like the aggressive action in the play. We'll test your arms. Right in the outfield. This ball's fairly shallow. The ball received and caught in center field by White, and the throw in. Caught the mound on the back slope, so it kicked it straight up in the air.
About to play now for Kansas, catcher Jax Groshans.
Now here's Jax Groshans. Leading hitter for the Jayhawks. 12 home runs on the year. 42 runs driven in. His average up to 339 with 2 hits today. First one a called strike. Fouled straight back.
A little more velocity in the game now. Typically early in this game, but starting pitchers plus our relievers have been in that 85 to 88 range. And all of a sudden, you've got Meadows coming in here and firing 90, 93 mile-an-hour fastballs. Power arms in the back end of a bullpen. It seems to be a trend in college and professionally.
2 strikes to Gross hands. And time is called. He represents the tying run in the 10-8 game led by the Mountaineers. Kansas scored first with a run in the top of the first inning, but West Virginia answered right back with 5 in the bottom of the first frame, 3 more in the second, and another in the third. It was 9-1 at one point. It's now 10-8. Big cut, fouled back. And the count holds at 2 strikes. Ahead to the West Virginia half of inning number 7. It'll be 8-9-1. And that means Tevin Tucker and Tyler Dones, 2 of the faster guys in the conference. And when they get on, they can do some damage. High and away, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Popped it up left side, and that'll drift to the seats. Still 2 strikes. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Still 2 away. Asher's the runner at second base. He doubled in a pinch hit roll. Gross Hands is a junior out of Magnolia, Texas. Checked his swing. There's an appeal. He did not go. 2-2.
Important pitch here. Tried to throw the slider by him a couple of times, meaning a hard slider, try to get him to bail a little bit, and he's done a nice job fouling balls off.
That time he got fooled on a pitch that didn't quite have the speed you saw earlier in that bat. Meadows took something off of it and got Gross Hands to go down on strikes and leave a runner in scoring position. So Gross Hands ends the inning with West Virginia still on top by 2. Through the 7th inning stretch to the bottom of the inning we go, and West Virginia leads Kansas by a score of 10-8. We had 25 hits in this game, 18 combined runs. A game that looked out of hand early is tightened up dramatically through the middle innings. Blake Goldsberry is the new pitcher for Kansas, and Rich Price has used a ton of them today.
He has. Goldsberry's out of Colorado. Big, strong right-hander. Run the ball to 88, 92, 93 miles an hour with a slider. And he'll come on to try to just keep things calm down here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Overall this year, when he's been on the mound for Kansas, he tried him as a starter early. You know, went back away from him, put him down in the bullpen, and it's been a lot better result for him. Coming out of the bullpen, he's 6-6 on the year, appeared in 28 games, has not started one yet. Try to finish this one. Give him an opportunity. That's all you can ask for out of this guy. Anybody else in the bullpen. And think about it, who's the hero out of the pen right now? Haggerty. Came in and gave two zeros on the board, allowed the offense to get going again.
And he came in well before he was ready to. He came in as an injury replacement. Rich Price told us in our conversation this week that the strength of this team has been its bullpen. Barry, Goldsberry, Jonah Ulane. He's used a lot of guys out of the pen today. Nathan Barry started this game, so not in his customary relief role. But now to get to this situation where you're using one of your best in a 2-run game, this probably wasn't something that was on the radar back in the first 3 innings. But here's Goldsberry fooling TJ Lake. Checked his swing, couldn't hold it back, and it's 0-2. 8-9-1, TJ Lake, Tevin Tucker, and Tyler Dones for West Virginia in the 7th. The Mountaineers are the 4 seed, 34-18 on the year, 13-11 in Big 12 play. Kansas, a 30-win squad, 31-24. Winners of 9 of the last 12 games. A sweep of Kansas State in the Sunflower Showdown last weekend. That vaulted them into the number 5 seed. And Kansas has done extremely well in neutral site games this year, 11-1.
Well, remember those neutral sites were started the year when they were playing a high school field, too. You know, they had bad weather and Orange couldn't play. They went to Austin, went down to Dallas, Texas, played a couple of games. They played like 6 games down there. 2 different series at 2 different high school fields. They just couldn't find anywhere to go play. The winter was winter in Kansas this year. The wheat wasn't the only thing blowing.
Good start to this game for Goldsberry, getting that strikeout. Now he faces Tevin Tucker. And Tucker delivers the first pitch into left field for a base hit. It's his 2nd hit of the game. Kansas started the season 13-3 through mid-March and then tumbled a bit. Won just 3 of 15 games. Big turnaround for them was in early April. As you take a look at that base hit by Tucker. They won the 3rd game of the series at Texas Tech. And that seemed to turn things around. I go back to what we talked about earlier in the game. Rich Price has said our season has been about Sundays. Salvage, win the series, or sweep the series. And to get that win, to salvage a victory out of all places in Lubbock, where you know the place was sold out, well, they've gone 15-9 since then.
Play good baseball. They get some good teams.
Lobbed over to first. They also went to New York and played St. John's. Not an easy Big East team to take on. Dones waits and misses. 1 ball and 1 strike. They also took a trip to the Air Force Academy, did the Jayhawks. You never know what the weather's going to be like there.
Light air. I know what that's going to be like. There's going to be light air there. The ball's going to travel. But it's a wonderful experience to go to the Air Force Academy, Naval Academy, West Point. As a member of the Yankees in '82, we got snow and New York couldn't work out. And Mr. Steinbrenner decided to take us all to West Point to work out in their indoor facility and eat lunch with them.
Wow.
With the cadets. It was an experience you remember forever.
Sure. Well, that was one of the reasons why Coach Price scheduled that. They took a tour of the academy. Wanted it to be much more than just a baseball experience. It's beautiful there. And that ball hit behind the runner. Nice piece of hitting by Dones. And with his speed, that gets Tucker from first to third. 3rd hit of the game for Dones.
Well, watch when this ball's hit. It's such an inside-out swing front foot. I don't know if he could have made a difference or not. Metcalf come off the bag a little bit quicker. 2-step look, and the ball went by, and looked at the second baseman to see where he was. That right side wide open.
We've seen a couple of instances today in which West Virginia's executed that extremely well, hitting behind the runner at first and advancing 2 bags.
You work on things, you perform them, then you'll be able to do it in the game.
Brandon White's at the plate, and Tyler Dones immediately takes off for second. He was going to wait around at first.
He has 18 stolen bases now, 2nd stolen base of the game for the Mountaineers.
No, they hit into a double play back in the 4th inning, and they wanted to erase that. So now you've got runners at second and third for the Mountaineers, and the infield drawn in dramatically. And the bunt is pushed up the first base line, and it is perfect. And 2 runs are going to come in on the play. Perfectly executed by Brandon White. The first baseman, Metcalf, waited for that ball to roll to him. And in doing so, that allowed the speedy runner at second, Tyler Dones, to score on the play.
But they just took a gamble here. Everybody's running. Guy at second base is running. Ball's going up the line, and then the throw, it's a bang-bang play at the plate. But you know what? Should never happen. Come catch the ball, tuck it, tag him, make the play at the plate, freeze the runner at third, getting a run down and get out of the inning. Tough way to give up 2 runs right there, I can tell you right now.
Darius Hill lifts a fly ball to left field, and it's caught by Vosick. The wind wreaked havoc on that, but Vosick's finally able to make the play. But 2 runs come in on a bunt to first, and West Virginia's lead is back up to 4. The opening game of the Big 12 tournament has seen 20 runs scored combined, 27 hits. Neither team has committed an error. West Virginia opened up a 9-1 lead. Kansas scored 6 unanswered. Got to within a couple of runs, but West Virginia just scored 2 runs on a bunt and opened the lead back up to 4. It's been competitive between these 2 teams this season. They met in Morgantown back at the end of April. West Virginia won a 1-run game. Then they won another 1-run game on the second day on Saturday in extra innings. And then Kansas salvaged the series with a 1-run victory on Sunday. I would say these 2 teams for the 4 and 5 seeds have been evenly matched throughout the course of the season.
I'll tell you what, Dylan Meadows came in and did a really nice job that last inning. He's thrown 19 innings. Yeah, tried to backhand it, didn't wear it off his chest, not going to get him. Ball's going to get thrown away and bounce right back to him. A lot of times when you try to backhand a ball, that one hop's going to come up and get you on the heel pretty quick. That's exactly what happened. He tried to go over and backhand this baseball, pull it up, and Edmonds should get charged with an error. It'd be the first one of the game, and they will charge him with an error.
Now batting number 30.
So Vosick reaches. And that'll bring Nolan Metcalf to the plate.
Second error of the year on Edmond.
You know, you got to have athleticism if you're going to be on the field anywhere, and that includes when you're coaching. A fly ball to center field, and that is straightaway center field, and White goes back, makes the catch, and crashes into the fence. He got all turned around, started to his left, sprinted back, went to his right, and made the grab.
It tells you how much wind's here. That ball was hit, but I didn't think it was hit that hard. 400 feet to dead center field.
And Vosick stays at first.
Yeah, and that's the big key. Vosick's at first base. Another look, going to track, going to leave his feet to make this catch. Hit, plant.
He initially ran toward right center field and then had to sprint back and make the catch at the fence. Now, one of the strengths of this West Virginia team has been its defense in the outfield, in part because of the speed of Brandon White. I mean, he ran himself out of the play and back into it.
What speed can do, you can correct a lot of things if you can run a little bit.
And you know.
I don't know. The only thing speeding about me was my truck on the way down.
Off the fist, popped up, and out of play. Top of the 8th. 5th seeded Kansas at the plate, trailing it by 4 runs. Benjamin Sims at the plate. Fly ball left field. Pretty deep. Lake goes back, continues to go back, and makes the catch off his shoulder. It's been adventurous for him out there today.
Just getting ready to ask. I mean, as you're watching the game, if you're in the dugout, why are you playing shallow? Ball's carrying. Ball hitting the air. Don't give up a double. Give up a single. Particularly late in the ball game. Nothing over your heads, guys.
Well, it was Metcalf who hit a ball to left field that Lake misplayed, backpedaled, and had it sail over his head. And that opened the door to some early runs for Kansas after it seemed like this game was pretty well decided. Here's Messinger. Just off the plate. One ball, one strike, two down with a man aboard in the Jayhawks half of the 8th inning. Texas Tech and Kansas State to follow. Breaking pitch high. 2-1. Baylor and Oklahoma will meet in the first game of the second session. And then it's Oklahoma State and TCU.
But at 12:30. Just thought I'd bring that to your attention. Probably more like 1:30.
They're not going to bring him right out? Like you go from the ninth to the 10?
Don't fix the field, just go play, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that's the way to work.
Short route to second to get the runner there. The fielder's choice retires the side. And West Virginia holds on to a 4-run lead thanks in part to some great defense by Brandon White tracking down that deep fly ball to center field. The Mountaineers have benefited at times by executing small ball perfectly. Here's a bunt in the 7th inning that scored 2 runs. Ball pushed perfectly up the first baseline. Runners at second and third. And the first baseman, Metcalf, waited on it. And by waiting, he allowed a second run to come in and make it a 4-run lead. It was pretty obvious watching that eventually that ball was not going to take a right turn and be fouled.
Yeah, punted hard.
Yeah. Take a look at it again.
The guy knew it was going to be fair with Metcalf. Here comes one run. Ah! Oh, no. Oh, he slowed down. You know what? The umpire didn't even know he was coming. He almost slid into Doug Williams. Here's a double down the left field line. At speed will come back in and play again. The Mountaineers trying to tack on to the 4-run lead here in the bottom of the 8th.
That's Marcus Inman with the leadoff double in the West Virginia half of the 8th inning.
He just rips this right by your third baseman. Not that he'd have a shot at it. And they'll give him a day off. You got 2 doubles. You've driven up some runs. Go relax. Take the day off, and we're going to let Austin Davis come in and run for you.
So Davis is the runner at second. And here comes Paul McIntosh, the designated hitter. Great day today for him. All of his at-bats have been productive. Now bases clearing. 3 RBI triple in the first. Ball fouled out of play.
We call these ice cream days. Get all those RBIs and hits, you get to go ice cream with your mom.
Well, he's got 4 RBI in the day, 3 hits, 3 for 3 because one of those at bats was a sacrifice fly. His average at 295 now. Started the day 282. Out of play again. 0-2 to McIntosh. He had missed some games, a couple of weeks worth. He got hurt in the Texas series. Only recently returned. He is draft eligible. He's a sophomore, but draft eligible. And a lot of time taken before that pitch was thrown.
And because of the defensive alignment, you may have mentioned it, but the whole left side covered up now. Your second baseman playing directly behind the runner at second, so it's easy for pickoff type situations to sneak in behind him. The other two, short and third, are going to stay pretty pat in the hole.
Well, the right side is very exposed. That's Davis dancing off the bag at second base, and he really has the attention of the pitcher.
Two things happen there. You do get the attention of the pitcher, but because of all the movement back there, you can distract a hitter. At the same time, as you're standing there as a pitcher trying to get his attention, you can mess things up for your hitter.
Now see how disciplined McIntosh is if he can go the other way. There goes the runner to third. Here's the throw right on the bag, and the tag hopped up, and that allowed the runner to come in safe.
Well, the tag was put right on top of the bag. If you watch the replay when this happens, you'll see it. It's right on top. Grosjean did his part as a catcher, but third baseman Messenger tagged the top of the bag, and he comes in. When he steals the base, watch, hands are going to be apart. Hands got to the bag. The tag never applied. Tagged him in the stomach. You'll see a lot of third basemen catch the ball and then drop their knee down. Apparently, they're going to take a look at it. They'll have a review. That's what Rich Price so far is 1-0 today. He's 1-1. This one, I don't think he'll get it. Ball beats him. Did he get him on the hand before that touched? Looks like the hands go outside the tag.
Yeah.
Right?
This should give us a pretty good look at him. It looks like the left hand is the one that gets in. And he's searching for a place to tag, and that's an excellent shot right there. It's a wide slide. Took up a lot of real estate. The throw by Grosjean, as you said, got there in plenty of time.
It's a really good throw, very accurate throw.
It's tough for the moment, but making that catch right there and just put the bag right in front of the glove, right in front of the bag.
Yeah,
instead of searching
there. Because the ball beat him, I think that's why Rich is trying to see if they have an opportunity to get this field goal their way.
Instead of searching for the body to tag, just put the glove down in front. Well, he was 1-0 earlier, Rich Price. That was on a ball that was hit by Skylar Messinger. A line drive. That was in the 5th inning. Initially, Messinger was called out. Umpires took a look at it, said that Brandon White trapped it. So Price won the appeal, which was good, unfortunately, because that brought the inning to a close. The second run was unable to cross the plate. They did get one out of it. That was in a 4-run inning. But the verdict is in. The runner is safe. And the infield drawn in again. Bottom of the 8th inning. Nobody down. McIntosh remains at the plate. I beg your pardon. That's strike 3. So lost in all of that video review, you lose track of the count.
Good slider down and away from him. Not an opportunity to get a bat to it to make solid contact, and he does get the strikeout.
So McIntosh is retired. And here's Ivan Gonzalez. 1 away now. Did anybody think that was funny?
Yeah, Greg did.
Okay.
Yeah.
High chopper over the mound.
Yeah, it's a
George Frazier,
helicopter
May 2019.
Well, the helicopter went over the top of the stadium.
Why didn't you share that with everybody else? You're working your material with the room.
Because I didn't think it would be very funny, so because I've been using that for about 28 years. And I figured Moran would fall for it, and he did.
We just had a helicopter fly over.
Yeah.
George's line, high chopper over the mound. Swing and a miss.
Slider. Goldsberry's had a good one. He's been able to utilize that for a strikeout of McIntosh. Now ahead of Gonzalez in a 1-2 count.
Davis remains at third base. For Kansas in the ninth, 8, 9, and 1 due up.
See, that's what a slider will do. It allows you to throw a fastball at 92, a little bit in the zone, elevated, throw it by you. Because in the back of their mind, they're going, man, he's assuming that wicked slider. I'm behind in the count, 1 ball, 2 strike. He's going to give it to me again. And realistically, what he does, he loads up on the heat and throws the ball right by you. Because in your thought process, you're thinking nothing but slider. 2 big strikeouts for Goldsberry and Kansas. Now, this is where pitchers really got to buckle down. 2 outs, runner at third. Don't overamp a breaking ball, throw it to the screen, or give up a 2-run home run.
Brophy hits it to right field, but not deep enough in his ballpark, and that brings the inning to a close. West Virginia got a runner to third, leaves him there. And we'll go to the ninth. Kansas trails it 12-8. Last chance for Kansas. We go to the top half of the ninth. It's a 12-8 West Virginia lead, and it has been really 2 very different games to this point. West Virginia jumped out to a 9-1 lead through 3. Kansas 6 unanswered in 4 and 5. And they've had a couple of opportunities to tie or even take the lead in this game. Just have not been able to get it done against West Virginia's bullpen, especially Dylan Meadows, who's been terrific for Randy Mazey. He faces Casey Burnham, who swings at the first pitch and fouls it out of play. Burnham in the 8th spot in the order.
New third baseman for West Virginia is coming to the ball game. Number 45, Andrew Sattel. Hopefully I did that right. All play-by-play guys know the correct pronunciations. That puts you on the spot. Nobody knows.
Sure. Fouled back.
Tell you what, that's what Meadows has been able to do for their ball club is get the rest of the back end of that good side of, the guys you're going to close the game with. And you hope he continues it if you're Randy Mazey. He's given that whole backside some time off.
Line to White, who makes the catch on the run. And Burnham is retired, 1 away. If this holds, as we're seeing now, West Virginia leading it 12-8. If you're Randy Mazey, it's tournament time. Survive in advance. Survive in advance. Doesn't matter if it's basketball, volleyball, baseball time of year. How happy are you with your team's performance, though, underneath the cliches? And if you are Rich Price, how are you feeling about what your team was able to accomplish, knowing you're fighting to get into a regional?
Well, I think Randy Mazey's going to be excited about certain parts of the game. The offense, the defense, the running game, the work of Dylan Meadows. He's not going to be very particularly happy, honestly, with Snyder. I mean, he walked 5, gave up 7 hits, 12 men on, 7 of them scored. That part you're not going to be too excited about. But your club just battled. I mean, the club got this thing pulled within 1 or 2. You're up 9-1, and next thing you know, they come back and score 6. So you score 1, they score 1, you score 2, and now you got 1 out away from closing this thing out. You're happy. If you're Richie Price, you love to not give up. Easy to give up. You're down 9-1 first game, and you're okay, and you're like, hey, and your club bounced out of here through 8 on the board. You should win that ball game. You score 8 runs.
We've seen that with Kansas over the years at this tournament. They come in. Usually they're not the seed, the 5th seed. Again, a number 2 RPI conference in the country is pretty impressive. But a lot of times you see Kansas come in that number 8 spot or somewhere in one of the lower seeds. But they always seem to find a way to battle, and they battle through injuries. A little shorthanded at times. And then they kind of get the crowd behind them a little bit because people appreciate the heart.
Yeah, they're the underdog guy. And people like that. And I can't blame them for it either.
Which is, Randy Mazey has said that his team tries to bring a chip on its shoulder into Oklahoma City. After a while, given the success that they've had over the years, I mentioned, what was it, 9 wins, and they've been at the semis, and they flirted with the championship game and winning a championship here. Eventually, that chip on the shoulder thing kind of goes away because, look, you got a really good program, and people really respect you.
Don't be the fox hiding behind the barn door waiting on a chicken to walk in. You know what I mean? People are going to go, yeah, start laughing at you a little bit, too. There's a W.
Fastball, swing and a miss, and that brings this one to an end. Wagner goes down on strikes, and Kansas put forth a game effort after falling behind 9-1, but couldn't quite overcome the deficit. And West Virginia wins the opening game of the 2019 Phillips 66 Baseball Championships by a score of 12-8, 12 runs on 17 hits. West Virginia did commit an error. Kansas 8 runs, 11 hits, no errors. West Virginia moves on in the winner's bracket. Kansas will play in the loser's bracket tomorrow. You take a look at how things are shaping up after just one game in, 12-8 the final. West Virginia will play the winner of Texas Tech and Kansas, which will come up about 45 minutes to an hour from now. Look at this field all manicured and ready to go. And we'll see the Red Raiders and the Wildcats. But it's West Virginia who remains alive in the winner's bracket, and Kansas has some work to do.
They do have some work to do. Kansas is going to have to come back through it. They do have the big horse set for John to throw out there in that second ball game. A guy is probably going to go in the mid-first round, maybe a little later. But it was all about offense, and then it became pitching for West Virginia at the very end of this ball game.